Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're catching us from. My name is Linda Banks. Welcome to this unusual presentation of TVBAKWETU with my co-host, Professor Jones K. Kasonso, PhD. Professor, good evening. It's morning where you are, isn't it?
No, it's afternoon, actually. It's mid-afternoon. The day is still very young. Good afternoon.
Your volume is very low.
Okay, let me try to ask it to go a little bit up. Did it improve?
Maybe it was my volume that was a little bit low. Good evening. Yeah. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Washington time. How is the UK?
The UK is amazing. It's been really sunny. I actually just came back from the beach, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been so
Oh,
warm. It's a very unusual spring, which is really weird. Thanks to climate change, I think. How's your day been?
uh, it's been fabulous. But it was raining. Yeah,
Oh,
so I spent my most of the day of my birthday just indoors. But the day is still
exactly.
young. You never know where the night might end.
Exactly, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just about to say,
Mhm.
welcome viewers to this unusual presentation of TV Bakwetu. It's going to be an exciting one. The entire TV Bakwetu is expected, well, almost the entire TV Bakwetu because of difference in time zones. But if you're just joining us, thank you so much for doing that. Would you kindly tag at least 5 friends, let them know that TV Bakwetu is on. I know it's a little bit late in Zambia. It's literally past 10. It must be 10:07. So we're going to have a fabulous time. We've got Professor Kasonso, we've got Bom Mkelebai, Mr. Chilufia. We're expecting to have our resident pharmacist, Mr. Jerome Kanika. We're expected to have, I call her our resident doctor, Dr. Babs. So it's going to be an exciting, exciting program. So please do tune in. We are live on TV Bakwetu page. And as we're trying to transition from the Elias Muncha page to the TV Bakwetu page, as well as the Linda Banks Facebook page. So those are the pages that you're going to be catching us mainly from. I've got Professor Kasonso right in front of me, or to my right, depending on where the viewers are, where they're sitting. And it's a very special day today, isn't it, Professor?
Yes, it is indeed.
Birthday.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah. Happy
Yeah,
birthday.
thank you so much,
You're
Miss Banks.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're encouraging viewers to wish Professor happy birthday. Please send your lovely message on the comment section below. Just wish him a very happy birthday. I know you adore Professor Kasonto. We do too. How's your day been? How have you spent it?
Well, the biggest highlight in the morning was speaking to one of the larger colleges in the country.
Mm.
They are looking for an accounting program chair and professor of accounting. So I was interviewing them this morning. That was a highlight for my day on my birthday. And then I was also, I went out for lunch, yeah, but I took most of it back home. And pretty much I've spent most of my life on the phone, receiving calls, birthday things and stuff. I was lucky. I went to the post office to pick up a gift from an unlikely source.
Mm-hmm.
I must be most thankful. And my hero for this birthday, I'll post it probably tomorrow because the messages are still coming in as the day is still young. I have a hero who has made the biggest difference in this year's birthday because after that grilling long interview this morning, I just wanted to sleep most of the afternoon, but I couldn't sleep because of what
Won't
this
let you
priceless
sleep. That's outrageous.
auntie did. Yeah. So I wanted just to give it a shout out to my friends, all of the people who have gone on my Facebook page to say happy birthday. Some of them asked me how old I am.
Wow.
Usually I post the years, but this year I couldn't because on reflection this morning, I realized that the number I was going to put on there wasn't going to be accurate. Partly because in my thinking, I'm thinking, okay, those years where your life is like on a standstill, do you also include them in the count? And since I'm an accountant, I didn't feel compelled to include those years. So I had to deduct the year when I was sick because my life was not active. Thank you, Dr. Elias Munsha, for your birthday wishes. So I had to deduct the year when I was sick. And I spent most of the year recovering 7 years ago. So I also did not count the these 2 years when life was on a standstill due to the COVID pandemic. There was another year when pretty much my life was on a standstill. So today, ordinarily, I was going to be celebrating 46 years. But unfortunately, I'm only 42 due to those impediments in the year, in the count of the years.
My accountant, and I'm studying that. That is hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. Well, I have a friend, actually. Let's have a look. A friend of mine, one of my very closest friend there. She's saying, I call her Cheese. She's my proper boy. Happy birthday, Doc. And Chisenga, I think I need to link you up with Dr. Kasonso. I think you might find that you have a lot of things in common, actually. She used to work for the Post. Amazing friend. We trained together.
Oh.
If you want secrets about me, she's the person to ask.
Really?
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
I've seen her on my Facebook page. She used to work for Postal Services Corporation.
Yeah. Yes.
That's where I started my accounting career.
Really interesting.
Yeah,
so you guys should talk. Yeah, you must talk.
We have to. Yes.
Yeah. So lots of birthday messages. One from Davis Chovela.
Thank you so much, folks. I appreciate that very much. Yeah.
Yeah. COVID years must be deleted. Yes.
Yes, Bamwanza. Yes, right on the money. Yeah, right. Yes, my brother. There's no way we are going to start counting these years whereby our life is idle. No people. No, mule nasha komutima. Iliyemia kata kuli kupendela ko.
It's funny. Another incredible brother and friend, Mr. Simon Muowo. Actually, he's
Dr. Simon Muowo. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, beautiful.
Amazing. Absolutely brilliant. I'm equally deducted 4 years. Vaneva Clemens, 4 years. Yeah,
yes. Mrs. Banks, we can't be counting idle years. Idle years, takuli kupendela ko. Tule bako fair na vanenza.
4 years, fulisha vanemwe. Olympics mwafunya ko 1 or 2. 4 years. Mwambo kubamba years ya football. Which is hilarious. Well, now let's get to business. We've got the team in the background itching to go. We have got some interesting topics to cover tonight. We're going to start with the one that is actually, I think I may just have to let me say hello to everyone, and then we can try. Good evening. Is it evening where you are?
It is actually evening. Good evening, Wolinda. Good evening, Pro, Kasonso, Doctor.
Good evening.
Gratulera Medagen. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I truly appreciate that.
Yes, thank you so much. Wolinda, it's wonderful to see you guys, and we are ready to go. Kimanzibwani bachiwempala mulishani bena chiwempala. That wa Kamila ve mulibantu restu. You are the pillars of Bakwetu. Bakwa hai kwali vingi kwa sheke kalavo senanga muchwani sichawasahe suma mbombo yaliambai usingula kwa mlenengi. Mulibuti nyobo batonga nyobo tulibiyoga botu kubata fera kwano kolupila. But we are now getting into summer. So thank you to Alumba. Is it Kapatrick or Kapati? Whichever you can call it.
Alumba Patrick. You forgotten the lumber and the langer. What's going on?
I was about to, but I'm a little bit ndechitako filia time. Yeah, balamba resto, bakaonde, kikaonde, mawe, neya na lukuta. Mulingachili, mwapulika uli, wakumawa, mulibwanji, wakumawa, timiposha, kuno, kubakwetu, tikuta, tauza kuti, iyai, mwatisunga, and timia mikirani zoonadi pomwe munatichitira pamene munatichitira mu Zambia muziko la Zambia and tili na imwe ndimwe vantu wasu tikukondani epa shiri pa kuleka.
Twatoto kwa kutiva bonkeleva twalomba kwa pat. I will be bringing you back in a little while. Let's say hello to our resident pharmacist, Mr. Jerome Kanika. Good evening.
Yeah.
Nah, my name is Jerome. You know, I'm from Ireland.
Nachitekanya vakasonso ati therefore apasho opoemeveri ati happy birthday so ati ngufweshi widienu vakasonso happy birthday vapo.
Thank you my friend, thank you my brother. It was a birthday for me.
Background.
Yes, I appreciate that very much.
Special birthday party.
I think maybe
how are you?
Jerome,
how are you, my brother?
Linda, very much fine, and we are enjoying in Zambia, and I'm happy with the way the topics have been put in place, and definitely we'll come back to that. We need abantu abonkuba pompolo no bufibale vepa bena mpena sangwa ile kwa bumbola.
Yeah.
So that
we
tubalange atubakabola la.
Vauze Jeremy, vauze.
We have
no kuveva. I'm vacation ku background.
So we have Gordon Banda saying he's really excited about tonight's show, but I want to find out how my friends are. We haven't done this in a long time. So this one is what we call chintoventobe. No formalities, yes. You know, we just go with the flow.
Yes.
If you are really not happy with the languages, I'm really sorry. It's about time that you learn some languages. We're just going to go in our own mother tongues. But Jerome,
ndilondelanda na muchize Zulu because vazimbabwe navachinokulanda
Zimbabwe. Brilliant. Oh, Jerome, you're well, my brother.
Zimbabwe. Timadenda pali Zambia pamtina bakwata ko mwenzo kaya ma elections yala bako very soon so kuvele
bueno. All right, Jerome, let's bring in another one of BAKWETU family members, Mr. Patrick Chilufya. Bashinkole mudishana.
Ishikamba chifume pa mute.
Atichikamba.
Ishikamba chifume pa mute.
So to start with, happy birthday Bakayamba.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bashimwelwa. Thank you.
Vavitonshi.
Mwani wakurumpe.
Abakuluva bandi.
Mwaisen.
Ndita bana Sasha imwe mule nditati bashinkole inenga na mitati bana Sasha tinde mipwisha market no bana imwe mule mpwisha market because baishwati nine Patrick Chilufya not bashinkole bana Sasha you're gonna pay for that. Yeah, I think it's gonna be very interesting. You guys, we've already started.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I can't wait to talk about the Zimbabweans. I don't know why, because when the Chinese took over Zimbabwe, Zambians started commenting about it because the whole Zimbabwe is controlled by the Chinese.
Yeah. Okay.
So nobody was saying. Nobody was saying the Chinese are recolonizing Africa through Zimbabwe.
I know.
And Zimbabwe, if we go by the name Rhodesia, Zimbabwe is our village. We Zambians. Yes. We even kicked out the Rhodesians.
We are a sovereign nation. Yeah. So
no.
Sovereign nation.
We have more rights to Zimbabwe than they have rights to Zambia.
Yeah. Even when Vale Chula, we allow them to come and do the the plumbing and the bricklaying, ukula mayandaes. But that what imagine and photo
Abanyamata, listen. This is how we're going to. I know you're passionate.
Avena Zimbabwe Sasha.
Here's how we're going to do this.
Else to Alashta campaign. To Alashta campaign for the opposition. Vafumepo.
Ni foto apokele ubuntungwa Zimbabwe chalo chesu.
Chesu. Okay.
Zimbabwe. Our copper, our sweat, our blood. Zimbabwe is our country. That's Rhodesia.
Mubebe bana Sasha, avena Zimbabwe baichindike. Else to ala batambia Zambia.
No, okay. This is ground rules. Don't forget, I've got the mute button. Dr. Babs, please come and rescue me. These men have gone potty.
I'm just saying that they're not hearing what you're saying. I'm
going to mute them.
Living with Zimbabwe.
Good evening,
Good evening and happy birthday, Professor Kasonso. Good evening, Patrick.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Bab.
Good evening, Dr. Bab.
How are you? It's not got quite about Zimbabweans.
Background. I'll bring you back, gentlemen. Let's give, like I gave you a limelight. Dr. Babs, good evening.
How are you, Linda? How have you been?
Background.
What?
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, because we haven't done this in a very long time.
Yeah, so I can't even remember the last time we had how do you call it in English? Throw.
It's been ages, hasn't it? Now, where does a whole medical doctor, find time to come and volunteer time on BAKWETU?
There's always time if you need to do something. If you want to talk about something, to be fair, that's the only time I actually have to talk about my country.
Really?
When I'm in work, with other people. You know, when you live outside your country, you kind of have a dual personality.
You do.
Even with your own family, you have like the mother you who's Zambian, the mother you who's British, there's you who's British in work. And then when you come back home, you have to like relate to what's going on at home. Because if I don't, it's so easy to just get carried away and you just lose track of who you are.
That is very true. That is very true. Well, it's wonderful to have you here. And let me bring the gentleman back. And I think we're going to have a very spirited conversation here. Let's do this. Okay. Now, it's been terribly exciting in Zambia. So many things have been happening. There's been, sadly, funerals, and there's a state funeral that is about to take place on the 7th. And there's been former presidents and former leaders making crazy statements at funerals. And political statements Zambia. So we're going to start from that. Can I invite Dr. Barbara? Dr. Babs? I wonder why there's an echo.
I thought that there was an echo, so I thought that was me, so I muted myself.
Yeah. Okay, if we can all mute ourselves until you're on the spotlight, please, because I could hear myself and it's not fun. Dr. Babs, Ifililo, ABC sadly passed away. Condolences to the family. And Chile1 passed away. We send our condolences to the family. But there's been crazy things that have been going on. But Davis Muila, I didn't want to mention his name, former SG, he's become known for making these crazy statements at funeral houses, to say the least. What are your views on that?
First and foremost, to start with the recent funeral, my condolences to the families that have lost their elders. He's actually an elder of our family as well. Oh my God, somebody's calling. Sorry about this, Linda. So it's a bit disheartening because we've reached a stage. Oh my God.
Can I come back to you?
I think
I'll come back to you. Sort that out.
I keep telling them that I'm on a show and
yes.
they keep calling.
We'll come back to you. Mr. Chilofia, there have been two very big funerals, and sadly, people have lost their fathers, grandfathers, uncles. And at the funeral house, traditionally, especially as Africans, as Zambians, to be precise, we kind of honor the deceased, no matter how adventurous their life was or fruitful their life was, but we give respect and we mourn in with respect. We kind of honor the families and then talk about the Sambweliam, for that's when you start dissecting whatever transpired or how the person lived their lives, if it was a life well lived or not. But when someone has passed away, generally we tend to have that kind of respect. But do you think respect has been happening at these funerals lately?
Yeah. To start with, it's no. And then I'll try to explain why I'm saying no. Mm-hmm. Traditionally and biblically, we are Christians. The Bible says we need to respect the dead. Mm-hmm. So if the Bible says that and we're Christians, and then intambishes as Ababemba, Batonga, Balozi, most of the Zambian languages, we almost the same. That's why we are Zambians. We respect Umuntunga Nafa, whether that person was a criminal. You remember in Kabwe, there was these criminals who were killing people at the Mylon brothers.
Yes.
But when Hichilema, even the mother was crying like no man's business. And people thought, how can this woman be crying like this? And yet, to the whole Zambia. And even neighbors who were scared of them, they were also crying because that person has died. Is a human being who has died. And then we've lost Chile. May his soul rest in peace. Despite whatever he did, it's in the past. Now, even if we talk about it, and then we've lost also Impalume, our father. This man, whatever mistakes he's made, this is one of the founding fathers of our country. He was a young man at independence. These are the people who fought for our independence. And not only that, he dedicated most of his entire life, in civil service. The only time Bachkwanda has never worked for the government in Zambia is when UPND took over. Yeah. He's worked for almost every government in one way or the other. So we need to respect the dead. But I was so disappointed by Davis Mwila. I don't know. Since my PF took over, they've just turned Zambia into a gangster country, a country kwatisha kwa tentambi. But PF now, especially after Bafman power, they've been using Ifidilo for political expedience. I don't know why. Davis Mwila, so disappointed. Davis Mwila is supposed to be our father or elder brother, and he shouldn't be behaving like that. They're supposed to be teaching Aba Nabalekula. And if people like Davis Mwila are behaving like this, Balungu, talking about hypocrisy, Pachidilo, after Chidilo, what hypocrisy? But Banasasha, we'll talk about it. What hypocrisy is more than $33 million by Nokula Frederick Chiluba University 9 years ago? There's only a foundation. Is that respect for the dead, for the person who worked for Zambia for 10 years, for the person who liberalized Zambia for 10 years? So where is the hypocrisy now? Somebody who fails to honor Chiluba and build a university, money was released, the money went underground. So what kind of hypocrisy are these people talking about? I rest my peace, Banasash.
Thank you very much. Shall we bring in Jerome? Jerome is itching to go. Jerome, go for it on that topic. You're muted.
No, thank you. Yeah, I was wrapping the background because of some things that the PF are doing actually during these funerals. One thing that we need to understand is first PF have they up to this time they don't believe that they do not believe that they lost the elections. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. First, my condolences to the family for Bachkwanda. Yes, Predila, but on the other hand, na ife bene kuno fwe bana nga tuli beshukuru babo even n'abeshukulirwa babo nabo balerera bantu apa. So we are failing sometimes to provide for our children because of tukongole basho twacharo tulya kuli nani kane kuma Eurobond and whatever thing natwikata n'abaana besi nabo bakulalipirako. So as much as he has worked for the government since the time we got independence up to the time PF was in office, I think we need to appreciate him for the service. And I was very much happy by the word that came from President Hichilema, which he talked about the issues of unity. And also he appreciated Bachkwanda to be someone who was saved and who was a servant for the Zambian people. And the president recognized that this man worked since the time of independence up to the time he died as serving the Zambian people, which was very, very, very good. But coming to the issue of the PF taking the funerals and going to echilirishi, aba nabo balerira fimbi, nabo bayong to echilirishi chavo, kufiriro fyabene. I think that's what they are supposed to be. Maybe we need to go for a national day of mourning so that we give the PF or PF members to just cry all the day they cry what they need to cry, so that we from there maybe they can move on and see and accept that they were defeated. When you check very well, you can't get 33 million US dollars mwayonkushite chani nokia chibyala at Twakula University. On the other hand, mwabula 200 million US dollars Western province at Turekula the Wanika University. Mwaya byala punapo chani cha 200 million US dollars. So these things were they were doing them, but I don't know why today they are crying to say no. So I think that's something very much unacceptable. When you have been given the job as a civil servant, you need to know that the loyalties to the people of Zambia, and you need to serve the people of Zambia according to your capacity. If you want to be rich, you want money, do business so that at least you gain money accordingly, not the way they are doing, where people tend to be overnight millionaires. I think that's something unacceptable. Someone who has worked as a minister for just a few years, 4 years or 3 years, they start saying that no, ingande in 3 million US dollars. Well, someone who has worked for 56 years, they cannot get that money as a civil servant, as pension. So all those things they need we need to bring out, and you see, people need to account for their wealth which they have. And this is not about targeting the PF people. No, it's not about targeting them. It's about doing the right thing and getting back something that belongs to the Zambian people. These people destroyed this country, and we need to correct things and get money from them. Wherever they have hidden the money, we are going to get it.
Thank you very much. Dr. Babs, you're back. So, ifililo na wafiteninga muma politics. So, nomba kufililo kuya kuine eko kwata chansi ya kwambo kushoba abantu ya kulanda all the ill feelings that they have about other political leaders, to be precise, about the current president. What do you think is going on? Have we lost our culture in Dambi? Na shiruba na turufia in Dambi? Or is it just the way they are?
I think at the moment, the ex-politicians, ex-PF people, they're so much in attention seeking. It's unbelievable, even for their, you'd think that they've done badly, but they're worse than what we're thinking, because they just don't stop. They don't stop to say, hang on a minute, let's just be civil just for a few minutes and then carry on and see how it goes. They want to portray a picture that everything is fine because obviously they are unrepentant. They don't realize that the things that they were doing were wrong. Whilst we are talking about all this 200 million missing there, this missing there, they don't see, you know, when you've got that audacity and entitledship where you think something belongs to you, that's how they are. They don't think, hand on heart, they don't think that's stolen money. They genuinely think it's their money. If anything, they think they're doing us a favor by, you know, like you see, even the other guy, Shimpundu, he's there in the van, he's talking like maybe you would think somebody has accused the Pope of stealing money.
Yeah. Well,
but
Dr.
this is
Bob,
somebody who's done something wrong. And then it's like a fanfare.
Yeah.
Literally, they'll go there. The guys, even that guy who's, may so rest in peace, Chile one, he may have done good things to the poor people, just like Pablo Escobar, but he also had his negative things about him. So it's not something that we should be really going there and making speeches like crazy people.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Babs, at funeral houses, all of us, I know you personally, all of us have experienced a loss, a close loss of a loved one. And at the funeral house, it's a somber moment to remember your loved one, just to mourn them, to think about what how your life is going to be like. And especially at Chile One's funeral, the preacher preached an incredible message. And here comes Davis Muela with some ridiculous sentiments when Abana Vale Losha, you've lost a father, I've lost two dads, and I know how it is like at those funerals. Then you've got the audacity to just come and spew rubbish. I'm sorry, with all due respect. What do you think that would do to the children?
It's devastating. It's so disrespectful, because you have to remember that these are kids. They know the guy as part of their political circles. To the child, that's just their dad and nothing else.
Yeah.
They don't need to be pulled into the political wrangles or what's going on. But the PF people are literally using any stage possible to throw away their drill and their rubbish.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that most of them have got a brain size of a pea, to be honest. So nobody would actually sit down and say, this is something that we are not supposed to do. It's so embarrassing that even the ex-president, who you would think at this point in time, he's supposed to be like, fine, you may have done wrong things, but start building your legacy.
Exactly.
But he's also being pulled into this nonsense that it's unbelievable.
Father of the nation title, there is no, in that case.
At the moment, there isn't, honestly, because they try to, Zambians were very patient people. We are so forgiving. But now they're taking the mic, where you just push it too far. And it's unbelievable. At least apologize, be repentant. Even KK, who literally built Zambia at some point, he was repentant. He wasn't. I used to go to KK's house. I swear to God, each time you walked into his house, you would think maybe he was a god. He was so simple. He was, he would talk to people around him in a very simple way. He would, he never had people gathering, Utuma meeting at Nayam Kuchitefi. No, never. If anything, if you're in his presence, the only thing he would do is read the Bible and pray with you, nothing else, and make sure that make sure you follow God's way, make sure you do this. So a very respectful way of doing things. But Valungu, the way it's going, I think he has to sit down. He's still got a chance. He has to sit down and ask himself, the people pushing him are not pushing him for the right reasons.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Babs. Mukelebai. Walungu has been spewing more stuff. First, it was about the hypocrisy thing. Now he's got some new phrases. Maybe he's been swallowing the thesaurus. What do you think?
Thank you so much, Linda. I'm very grateful for having given this opportunity to express my sentiments over the reaction of the president, the former president, and the so-called entire party. I know sometimes I feel like even talking about these chaps is sheer waste of time and knowledge. And that's why I believe maybe the new dawn has decided not to give them an ear and just chose to continue fixing the mess that these guys left. Because to them, they find that whatever they did, there was nothing wrong they did. That's why they have never come out to the public to apologize remorsefully that they committed a lot of crimes. And to them, in their own mind, they think whatever they did was actually legit for as long as they were given the blessings. And those blessings were coming from who? This one individual today who wants to come out, who has not even been touched. We haven't even cut his fingernails yet. We haven't even removed the bombasa yet. And this is the person who wants to come out and say, we are being persecuted. What a shame. Your immune system, your immunity is still intact. We have not even talked about it. Not even the legislatures have started debating. They have not even put this motion on the floor of the House to discuss about the remove, because we have the prima facie evidence that this previous regime really stole. We have the evidence. It's like that video going on, those pictures of Bachimbwi, is it those hyenas with full blood in their mouth and say they didn't eat anything. They are still hungry. That is how they behave, and they don't see, they are in denial. To them, it was legit. So my message, Kuolungu, your behavior, your excellency, your whatever we can call you now, Bolungu, we respected you. You were the president of the Republic of Zambia. We want you to please continue in your hibernation. Do not utter any word, because your words may be construed differently. Because you have followers. You remember you have 1.8? So my message to you, Bolungu, is please reflect and please make consultation before you say anything. You are hurting right now. You are lost the power that you thought you were going to hand over to yourself. You promised Zambian people, I'm going to give this power to myself. And the power that you promised was a lie. We showed you the way. The Constitutional Court gave you some powers to say you can stand. They even revoked the 1 year, 6 months that you served to say you were not in office. But the Zambian people rejected. They showed you the way. We showed you the way. Now for you to have the audacity, Bagamba, to come here and start telling people that we are persecuting you for the things that you know you did wrong. You gave your people even a go ahead and say, Ulima Mwibala, Alia Mwibala. Which president would say such kind of scaleless statement like that? So Bolungu, I would suggest that akoka statement molandire or tutuma statement moleleta pamalilo, stop it. Because we may start now construing your naifobe nekutrati. Are you behind Amalilo? Because why should you be only speaking out during Amalilo? And when there is no Malilo, you are quiet, you are in your hibernation. And you want to come out and speak whenever when you want to take advantage of the sorrow, the broken heart, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm not insulting you, but I'm telling you as a brother, avoid such kind of sentiments. You are dividing, you are bringing problem to you. We have not touched you. This government has not even touched, not even a single word has come out of the president of removing your immunity, which you removed Barupia Banda's immunity. So please watch your pace. Allow this government to carry out their investigations and investigate and prosecute, if at all prosecute, not persecute, but prosecute the suspects.
Yeah.
Apo pena apo, there's nothing we can say because you were the civil servants. You were supposed to be serving the Zambian people. Why are we not attacking even Yusuf Dodia? Because they are the businessmen. They're in the private sector. We are not, those are not our, we can't even question them. But we have the right as Zambian people to question how Chitotela, how Lusambo, the Mushanga Sela, be able to build a mansion. You even fail to go and bring the street kids so that you can feed them. Why am kusende fina mafia mumpanga? If ilila we know. If you leta mungia diobe, washavantu abale chula mu street, ama street kids, ama kadas. You leva pero tuma 20 kwachati. You are a bulldozer. No, you are a bulldozer. So be careful. So we don't want Balinda. I'm quite emotional because Balungu is taking advantage of funerals. People when they are mourning, marriage, even when you know that your legacy is in question marks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, that was a very passionate contribution, Womkelevai. A question for you. So, Mr. Lungu, Dr. Lungu, President Lungu, ex-president, was quoted. There's a video that's an audio actually that has been circulating, him telling his ministers that I have received a report that you have been involved in a lot of corruption, like corruption on a massive scale. His voice, it's there. Now, how dare he comes back now and starts accusing the current administration of them prosecuting him and his people when it's audible, it's there, it's out there in the public domain, him saying that, guys, if you carry on with this kind of massive corruption, I'm going to fire you. So how does he justify himself? How does anyone justify what he said?
Linda, the issue with PF, they are all trying to do issue malanda muchisungu at reverse psychology. Ili ngiri nenga maunfomuntu alechita complain pali issue imo. Nishi uliawine ukwete issue. Ale panga feka reverse psychology. Lungu said hypocrisy.
Yeah.
That he did not mean this current government is hypocrite. It is actually himself, because these are the things that he's experienced of doing. He is speaking about himself, and he wants to play this reverse psychology to the Zambian people. That imomema Zambian, mumonekwati, alela andaba Akainde Hichilema. Akainde Hichilema just came recently into government. You cannot tell me that all these sufferings that we are going through, all these atrocities, I mean, the high price of commodities, the hardship of accountants, not Wakwatapa, they have told us. It does not mean that this new government are the people that began this problem or that came up with this problem. These people, the damage they did to the economy is so intensive that extensive in such a way that it would take us a test of time, the Zambian, for us to recover. No matter how Mr. Hakainde is going to be an angel or to try to pray to God to bring miracles to change everything, it will take time. It will never change within a day. Yeah. So, no hypocrisy. It is the reverse psychology. They are simply talking about themselves. because they have run out of ideas. They know they are now panicking. Their party is disintegrated. They are dying a natural death, which we took part and gave them that poison. They are going. They are gone. But we cannot stop. We cannot stop from persecuting or prosecuting, not persecuting, but prosecuting these people that were in a public, that were serving as public servants. We have the right to know how they amassed the wealth. The government they were working for was poor, but them became richer than the government. Where on earth can you find that to happen?
Thank you, Mukelebai. Professor Kasonso, we're talking about what has been happening at funerals, Zambian culture, respectful. We're in somber moods. When someone dies, you're there to pay respect to the dead and console the families that have been left behind. But that hasn't been the thing that has been taking place in these funerals. What are your sentiments on that?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Walinda. Lest I forget, get carried away by the heated discussion. Happy birthday to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah. I'll be nice. I'm the birthday boy on the block, so I will let Keleva, my father's cousin, be the mean one on today's show. Yeah, but you see, traditionally, or in a Christian sense, for there is now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. For the old has gone and the old has passed away and the new has come. That's what happens. But to be in Christ is not only to shift our faith positionally, but also sometimes to transition into the next world. Yeah, so we cannot live on piling up on condemnation on those who have gone on. It is not a constructive way to live or to proposition things. Let me break away with my colleagues. And we are living in a democracy. Unfortunately, if it's a political funeral, we are bound to hear some political sentiments come from the political stratosphere. We are going to hear political sentiments expressed because it's a political funeral. So yes, we are supposed to honor the dead, and they are going to be respected. I remember a long time, some time back when we used to pass through the graveyard in Kitwe, going to Chingola, they put a big sign over there when you are going into the grave that if you're mudina, if you're twali, if you're tulina, if you're mukaba. So when you're walking in the graveyard, everybody were carried on a somber feeling when they read those words that, they once were alive, now they are dead. That's what we will be. They were alive like us. So when we take giving our people a final rest, usually we must give them the respect that they deserve. But in a funeral gathering, which is a political place, we can expect some politics to go on, especially if it's a political funeral. And sometimes the person may have lived a very controversial life. You obviously please some people, displease some people. Some people will express themselves. That's human nature. And given we are living in a democracy, people can express themselves however they want. But when it comes to the substance of the expressions of the people in the PF, remember what their leader once said. President Sata told us the quality of the people who were in his bank, in his followership, that they were of no quality and he had very useless MPs. And people who were following him didn't have very great quality. It's kind of like what the late Augustine Lungu used to describe the difference between his favorite beer and all other beers. He used to say, no style, no quality. Even from a pagano hakaba PF, no style, no quality. So even if they speak in the context of a funeral, people shouldn't be preoccupied with all of those kind of things, because you see, these people have already lost the election, and we are not having a national election anytime soon. So tubika femiti mapanshi na bola tuleteela panshi. Something that stood out to me in the discussions of my colleagues is what my friend Mr. Kanyika said about the former finance minister, Mr. Chikwanda. You know, if you studied the, may he so rest in peace, the Honorable Alexander Chikwanda's life, from a freedom fighter through the struggle, you know, working in the finance portfolio of the country for many years and helping to make very good decisions in the early years. But as he grew older, I think that he gave up on the breath before he breathed his last, you know, because it is through his administration that we have found these countries called Zambia saddled with so much debt that the country is nearly giving up its sovereignty. Those are very, very difficult issues to stomach, even if there is a funeral, particularly a state funeral of this size. People are bound to speak something, and they are within their rights to say something about those. And that raised a serious concern that I wanted to express here publicly. You know, abantu nga bali abaiche bale chitefia manoko baleisa, because it's through advice yaba palavena Chikwanda that kaunda apokere migodi kubasungu. Dili apoke migodi yabena kaunda kubasungu. Efe basambirisha bafiashi besuwa mankos besuwa baiche babo and things like that. Mpaka basungu babika ma sanctions pa migodi yasuka yawa. But in the meantime, they had educated the country. But look at what the man at the helm of the finances of the country did. They literally drowned the nation in debt. Right now, there are big negotiations around the debt of the country. What is happening? Who was signing those things? Who was the Minister of Finance on those things? Nangukulichirwa abantu kuti balanda. Kateko munete chalandeko because mufiashi wachalo. No, I'm only this, a public servant from the independence to this. But if forever level and number, kuti tuamona tukuma eli yezi kwa difisu mefinge fe bachitefi afuire chana. But kurokuma last bashala batu tumbuisha. So china chafo kumaila ponichi. That observation has brought me to this realization, and I hope the mwankali mweva nandi. Ilifia kwa watikateka ale hula one-on-one abulu mkote abula no mwaiche. Abakote kwa posa no mwaicho kwa posa. Abakote abachitaretaya abaleke abakolochi. Those people are now supposed to be in advisory roles, because ngabaleta ma theorems ya mu yesterday yabaletire bachikwanda ya mu yesterday yasadumbushe chalo mu Kongole. Yeah, so nalisa abako a little bit frustrated and disappointed. Ukwisa sangati bapanji kaunda ni ba ambassador ku Malawi. Mwaingira muri ashiria next. Okay. But the thing I'm commenting on is calling people out of retirement to come into public service in a country where jobs are needed for the working age group and flooding jobs with retirees is not helpful for this country. We need those people in advisory roles, not on the front lines of pushing the ideas of this country forward in the 21st century. So, to fuire to alanda pobuteko bweso, ndio kwebati abakolochi bafuire baba ma advisors na ku state house takuliko na advisor na ngumo mukolochi ku state house, but some have been pushed to go balechtarani civil service bambi balechtarani uko bashane ko bashane ko retirees. Well, you know, those people are supposed to be in advisory roles. Kuliaba ichaba nensu ba 42-year-old banenso kali nifunya kwa miaka 4 ba 42-year-old banenso ebo ba poste mulya nomba na ma advisors baba bakolochi not abakolochi babike ku forefront. If yo fifuire fiale ko kuchitika bela chita point one-on-one abakote na baiche abakote nga bali retire chita yabo yalipita bafuire baba ni ba advisor icho na landa coffee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You have, Professor, led me quite nicely onto our next topic, appointments. So this social media, the streets of social media, the streets of Facebook, shall I say, have been awash with crazy sentiments about the appointment of Keno Panj Kaunda and the former SG, who is now the chairperson. Who do I start with? I need a moderate conversation. I think Tola Yakunin and Kada. Let's start with Kada. Jerome. Self-appointed Kada. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, your views. The president will the Jerome. No white self-appointed Kada. Now Vasala, Abachikurire, Bakasonso touched the lead quite nicely to this topic. The youth are upset, like really, really upset. It's like number for tukabomba kolisa abantu bali 65 ebambo kubomba. Do you think the president was right to appoint Ken Opanji, for instance? And if so, why?
I think one thing that we need first, just I'm just let me start with a joke. Bapanji so the president said, no, I'll take it.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I'm an orphan as well, so I'm not ridiculing orphans.
Okay. Yeah, but I think one thing that we need to do, for me, what I feel like these appointments of ambassadors and these which I've seen, I think the appointment of Panj and the Stephen Katok, I think they are very much okay. The reason is simple. I think we need these people who are ought to go all these bilateral talks and all engagement. Well, as the young people are being pushed back in the civil service now to implement the policies for the UPND party. As you know very well, we know that UPND have great policies, but the old people cannot implement these old policies, these good policies, because it requires a lot of energy. So we need, as young people, to be pushed back in the in civil service as compared to wanting to be, let's say, ambassador and all that. Yes, we may mix, we may have some young and old people, but let young people get hold of the civil service so that they can implement all the good policies for the current government that we have. You know, this UPND government is our government, and all the policies they have are youth-centered. Today we are complaining, today we have seen a lot of MPs and ministers complaining that, look, the council, they have not explained well to the people about what is this, about the issues of CDF. Why this thing is happening? Because mostly the young people are not involved, and we need to have young people to run these councils. You go to this institution, you find the ministers, the MPs are complaining over the same matter, and this all calls now for young people to get involved and make sure that they are the one who are implementing the policies for the new Dawn administration. Now, if we say we need the young people to be ambassadors, I think there we may miss a point, but I'll encourage young people to be all the issues of being pushed back in civil service. One thing, then the other thing that we need not to forget, I know the issue of appointing Panj Kaunda has brought a lot of talk.
Have we lost our resident pharmacist? Okay, we will have I would like you to carry on this topic. Keno Panj Kaunda, son of the former president, our founding father. Jerome says he's an orphan, so to one but Jerome.
When something doesn't make sense, I always have this theory in my mind. when something doesn't make sense, then there's something wrong. Okay. Then it's either it's not true or it's.
Are you for the
something.
idea?
Actually, Linda, I would actually side with Wakasonso on that aspect, because I feel the president this time around ought to have, he's still actually indebted to the youths that actually ushered him, that came out in numbers to vote him into power, you know. And these are the people. We are in 2022, Bolinda. Yeah. Bo Panji Kaunda has been a colonel or whatever in his life. He has done a lot. He has accomplished a lot. Much of we appreciate. We love him. He's our brother. He's our father. So we're supposed to go to him and just get his wisdom. He is the fountain of wisdom. We can go to him and ask for help. Help us. We are lacking. They are behaving unreasonable. What say you? And then he comes in with his sentiments. We can do that. But getting the old man, who is above, I don't know how old Bopanji is.
I think about 65, maybe.
But if he's within the range of he's within the age, the limited age where he can go to work and everything, then we cannot complain. But the reason why we are saying it was not the wrong, but it was an unfair move by the president. The orphan needs to rest. The orphan needs to rest at the farm and advise. He's supposed. I know we love him. He's our brother. Our orphan needs to rest and stay home. And we are ready to also pay for the services. We can pay for the nurses to come and help him and take care of him. But sending him into active service, it's more like a punishment. It's like that president from Equatorial, whatever, that one who suffered a stroke, and the people still want him to rule as a president when he is incapable.
In France, but I saw him being propped. He couldn't stand straight. They were propping him.
Exactly. So what I would say was, Boakainde, we know you mean well. You mean well, my brother. But the problem that is there is that we have a number, millions of youths, millions of well-articulated and well-learned young men who actually could have taken that role, who actually are your staunch supporters of the regime, your current regime, to actually take over Malawi. There, Malawi, it's nearby. You could have actually even picked a musician from one of the musicians to go and represent us. It's possible.
Who would you suggest, Bomkelebai? Which musician? The musicians.
I would have suggested the one who has been singing for him, like he is what? What is it? Not.
You mean the one Muisho was saying that he's sitting outside in my car.
Yeah, even yes, absolutely. Even Pilato can be a very good ambassador to Malawi. You know, we can send people like Pilato, and it's possible. I know you mean he means well, but sending our orphan, it's somehow Boakainde is I know we have to tell him the truth, how we feel, so that he understands. But he has his own reason. He's very categorical, and what we can only say is that I just hope that Wopanji will be there for at least a year or so. Then he brings him back to rest, because he needs to rest. He has done a lot to this country. That's my take.
That's enough. Thank you very much. No, but I'm not comments, guys. Please, we're trying to be professional. It's more fun. Who does that?
But it's true. Is an orphan. Now is the big an odd orphan. So otherwise it's okay.
Okay, let me stop it. That is right.
No, I'm so sorry. Anyway, I don't know what I said.
Right.
Anyway,
moving swiftly on.
Our apologies. How do you address the ambassador? Is Your Excellency?
Your Excellency. No.
Yes. Our apologies.
You're making things worse. Just stop.
When am I coming in?
You're digging.
Good evening. When am I coming in? Thank you.
No, but Jacqueline, just a second. Sorry, we will give you a chance. Just to say, Ken Opanji is a friend of the show, and he understands how our humor, probably understands Womkeleba. We do not mean any disrespect, but just the phraseology. More often, I mean, Chilombo is saying, who does that? Who says more often? Is that a thing? So Ken Opanji knows, he's a friend of the show, he knows our humor, and we do not mean any disrespect. And obviously the president had a reason why he had decided that Ken Opanji goes to Malawi. There must be a reason. But I also subscribe to the notion that, or the sentiments actually, that Professor Kasonso aired earlier. Dr. Babs.
It's an interesting topic, actually. I'll be a bit on the borderline with the case of Colonel Panji. Reason being, from where we're standing watching on the inside of what our president is doing, is obviously there's a lot of young people who can take up these jobs, who are supposed to go and do these things. But there's also a bit of strategy behind it, because we are a tribal country, and as much as in the last time the president had a press conference, he did mention that he wanted to have like a setup like Singapore, which is the more aimed at developing, taking us out of misery into the moving forward to the developed side of things. But in order to do that, Singapore did it by making sure that they appointed the absolute talented people without any remorse or giving way to anything. In Zambian setting, that's a bit difficult because you have to also balance things. We are in a volatile environment, so Panji, to start with, he may be on the older side of things, but he's talented. He's got a lot of talent, and he's a very active orphan. He's a senior orphan. He's up and about all the time. If you see him, and just for laughs, my sister saw Panji's picture, and we said, "Oh, Baba, I said, it's just a lookalike."
Thank you so much, Dr. Babs.
So, we have to balance the politics. We have HH does not have a Eastern powerhouse, because the powerhouse so far of Eastern Province is Lungu. So we need the KK side of the Eastern Province.
Everything is strategic.
Side of things, everything has to be strategic. Unfortunately, for our Zambian setting, I submit.
Thank you so much. Someone sent me a message to say that I understand the president's decision to appoint Ken Opanji Kaunda. It's a case of honoring the father's legacy, but they also said that perhaps they should have considered the grandchildren, because they're the younger Kaundas, and also the strategic issue that you have raised there, Dr. Babs, is very prominent. I think we need equal representation. So maybe what Professor Kasonso had said, the older generation who have been there, done it, they've got the experience, they know what they're doing. If they appeared in an advisory role where they can actually provide this knowledge, the knowledge gap that is there for our youths who want to get into these jobs. Now, our youths, actually, all the people who follow me, they know I have a soft spot for our generation, the young people, and they literally, President Hakainde Hichilema rode on the back of the youths. And I think I'm confident that something is coming for them. So please do not despair. This was just what, five appointments or something like that. So do not despair. And it's Malawi. Malawi is just the back garden. Vakasonso said things that I cannot repeat because we're all just getting fits of laughter and we have to stay sensible. But Jacqueline, welcome to the program. We seem not to have Jacqueline. We will move on to the next topic.
Because I'm here, Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hi.
But Linda also need to comment on appointment of.
Okay, all right. I'll add you after Jacqueline.
Hi, Linda, and good evening to, or is it afternoon or morning, wherever you are on Bakwetu na Totera. Linda, I just wanted to say something about Colonel Panji Kaunda. And I wanted to indicate to you that Colonel Panji Kaunda was the man that blocked Malawans from coming to vote into Londazi on the day that Zambia was voting on the transition from the PF to the UPND. I just want us to have that on record. He is the man that also had actually informed the UPND team, who were the PF MPs and top officials that had ensured that a number of Malawans at the border between Zambia and Malawi were registered to vote. So when we hear those stories about there were Malawans who were due to vote for the PF but could not because they were stopped by UPND officials. Let me just clear this because I have first-hand information by nature that I was in the president's team at that time. The people that stopped those Malawans to vote were not even UPND. They were just people mobilized by Colonel Panji Kaunda from Sinda Misale, his farm. Whether they supported PF or they supported UPND, we don't know. But the instruction he gave them was that he did not want to see any Malawans in numbers cross the border into Zambia because he was alerted. And that was averted. It didn't happen. Maybe 1-2 voted, but the numbers the PF expected, because the PF had about, if I'm not mistaken, close to about 2,000 to vote in that border. And I think we could have just managed to, maybe about 50 escaped. That's number one. Number two, we do have youths. Even you as Bakwetu, you and I, who are Bakwetu, njemeni kwa mashina, eyo tuwapela list ba State House as Bakwetu to consider young people for diplomatic appointments. And for me, who sits in the committee with the president, even as of yesterday, these are questions we are being asked. You are all condemning my appointments. But which names are you giving me? Because
when I just pause your thought on that one, by Jacqueline, just pause that thought momentarily on that point. Yeah, thank you so much. On that point, we have not been given any indication on the process of application. So if we knew what the procedure was, a lot of people ask us, how do you apply for this? We are inundated with questions. I'm sure my colleagues will attest to that. But even I don't know what the procedure is if I was interested in any kind of position. And if I don't know, how would the ordinary youth know? What's your response to that?
Thank you, Linda. Linda, sometimes in life, we don't need to know. When I met President Hakainde for the first time, nobody took me there. I heard him speak one. I went looking. I went to the secretariat where some woman told me, you professionals, don't even support the party. This is 15 years ago. You all condemn us. What? And I said, no, I've just come to buy a card. So she sold me the card. And when she sold me the card, she got interested. She said, what do you do? Then I explained to her. Then she said, but why are you here? Because people who do what you do are in the other party. Then I said, no, because I heard that man, Mr. Hichilema, speak. And I think I'm interested. Linda, sometimes, especially in a transition, we should never wait. We should never wait for someone to, a letter written to the president by Bakwetu, written to the president by Bakwetu today, signed by Alliance Mosha, will not be ignored. Where are the names of the youths we are all talking about today on these platforms? Which names? I have given names to the president, none my relatives. They have jobs because they are qualified. They have a history. And I've told a few other people, present the names. We all sit and condemn, but we don't provide the names. So me, what I would advise today to Bakwetu, as a member and a family of Bakwetu is, can we task Bamonsha? Balembe nkalata kuli bakateka. Balika amalisi y'abantu abalifa okuba appointed muma positions that we, the Bakwetu family, feel those people deem fit. Give their CVs and give their reasons, justification. Okay. We know this happens everywhere. And we give.
Just a second, Professor.
If we say we are not taught, we are not being patriotic. And here, guys, I really beg to differ with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm applying tomorrow.
Let's settle this issue. Thank you, Jacqueline, for that beautiful clarification. And we need to make it very clear here. I did mention Panji Kaunda. I'm the one who mentioned it. So I'm thankful to the moderator to bring me back. What we are doing here, we are not condemning the president. We are part of his team. And if you want us to tell you the names, from even just the regular people who go to Zambia and do anything, what is Elias Musha still doing in the diaspora? Elias Musha is supposed to be working with the president. That's the president's boy. What is he still doing here? So if you wanted the names, there is the one name for you. What we are saying is this, and this point must not be missed. Panji Kaunda is not, the appointment of Panji Kaunda specifically is not being condemned. No, let's get that right. What we are decrying is the one-on-one appointment of the working age group with the retirees. And get this point very clearly. And if I might go on to mention some retirees in high-profile positions, which I feel they should not be having, but the active working age group. Commissioner, Honorable Peter Machungwa, is a retiree. Peter Machungwa, PhD, is a retiree. Those people, we are saying, they should be in advisory roles and put in at least our age group. Me, today I turned 42. Okay. I should have been 46, but save for my personal troubles, sickness, and COVID, I only turned 42. I should have turned 46. Our age group needs to be there. The names, I don't need to introduce those names to the president. He is the owner of the country and knows my friends, and he knows my generation. We don't need to give him even the names. He knows all of us. The Honorable Axon Sejan, he is in an active position. He should be in an advisory role. Why? Because he's retirement age. The Honorable Peter Mumba, my very first job, I got it. In fact, if I could reproduce that letter from Zampos, that is my hiring director of human resources at Zampos. And how many years ago? 27 years ago. And I'm only saved for, I'm only 42, saved for COVID and a lot of other personal troubles. I would have been 46. But they've been brought into active service. The Honorable Msokotwane at Finance, that's retirement age. You are telling me we don't have talent to handle those portfolios? Those people should be in advisory roles. Look at the advisors, economic advisors at State House. The Honorable Msokotwane is my feeling. He could have been at State House to advise. And some fresh blood over there. I could even add to that list Bakaunda, Bapanji Kaunda. We are not saying people should not be rewarded positions for the roles that they've done. The principle that I'm arguing here, as a supporter of this president, is that the one-on-one appointment of the younger generation with the retirees is completely not appropriate. Our fathers need to be in advisory roles, and they need to leave the stage for us to function. We cannot compete for jobs with them. We are not condemning the appointments. We are saying that our fathers should be in advisory roles rather than in the front.
But Jacqueline, just a second. Let Dr. Kasonso finish. Carry on. Have you finished?
Yeah. So that's what we are saying around this topic. The whole thing of writing the president's letters and all those kind of things, that is a busy job. Even if we are talking like this, some of these things the president has said, even this we are talking, is a letter to the president. Because I know he will hear this. He will listen to us. And he's a listening president. Since I started appearing on TVBAKWETU, there are very few things that have gone unnoticed. I have seen a lot of overlaps in the president's own speeches and the things we talk about here. So he listens to us. So even as we're talking this, he's listening to us. Well, the point that is being made here, except for Keleva, my father's cousin, making us laugh too much tonight on my birthday, I'll remember that as my birthday joke more often. We are just saying the one-on-one appointment and recalling people out of retirement to active service may be politically convenient, but is not helpful in the long term. Our forefathers need to be put in advisory roles. Let them sit on boards, let them be invited to come and advise, let them be the advisors, and let us push this new generation to take on the baton from them.
Yeah.
That is what we need to do. And the expectancy age in Zambia also must also be taken into consideration. Muzambia banduta bakota.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. I think that is a prudent plea. And just to reiterate, we are not condemning the president for the appointments that he has done. He must be in a privileged position to know why he's done what he's done. But also, it's very important for us to air our views in regards to these things. We feel that we have a listening president, and what we say will have some impact. And it's really important that we are true to ourselves instead of just kind of going along with whatever is pronounced. But Jacqueline, you wanted to add something to what Professor Kasonso had said.
Thank you, Professor Kasonso Natotela. What you've said is very valuable. I just wanted to state a few things. Number one, if our young people don't go into the constituencies and vie for being members of parliament, it will be very difficult for them to actually get some of these appointments. Dr. Msokotwane is a member of parliament by nature, but he won a constituency. Now, the president will obviously notice amongst all his members of parliament who is suitable best to head as Minister of Finance. The last thing you want in a presidency, and if you follow governance, is that their portfolios such as defense, finance, home affairs, just to mention these very critical three. And then, of course, you have those of maybe the food, which is agriculture, that you do not want just any nominated member of parliament to hold. You want somebody who is an elected member of parliament to hold those portfolios for a very important reason. They also have to safeguard the hunger or whatever inequities or shortages or inequalities that are happening in their constituencies. But above all, you're also, especially in finance, you're looking for someone that has the experience that you can trace, that as an African entity like Zambia, where we have so much wealth, but at the same time, we depend on so much donor funding that you don't even understand. Yes. So, but you want that track record where donors are comfortable with somebody, because even when they vet them, they know that this person does not have a history of pilferage or maybe misusing of resources. So Honorable Musokotwane comes in.
Okay, thank you very much for Jacqueline.
Can I just finish a bit, Valinda?
Okay, go on.
The challenge to Kwete, me, I'm working in an era where I'm dealing with the youth. Our young people are scared to come out. We've got brilliant corporate minds. I'm 46. I turned 46 last month on the 15th of April. Majority of my friends are nowhere what I do, even speaking like I'm speaking here on Bakwetu. They are not even doing what you, Valinda, Bachirufia, Patrick, Bamunsha, won't what we are doing. Because once, Bale Munafiat, in Chito, ya quite a certain age group. Mamana, ya Kubukalamba. So the mock to Alanda, no, and I'm very, very clear that Bakwetu is not condemning the president's appointments. For me, I love this platform because we are very objective and open people. We call a spade a spade. We don't call a spade a fork. No, not here. There are media houses in our country that will actually tell you that a spade is a car, but not Bakwetu.
No.
So what I'm just saying, and let me just drive this point home, is that people need to present themselves. As long as we do not present ourselves, no one will know. And unfortunately, President Hakainde is laying an open book now where if people write something to him and people present it to him and say, this is from Bakwetu, listen to them, you watch them. And by the way, I'm a screenshot saya bala tutumina. So nang pampene turelanda baleta. Bala tutumina fesomu group bat tutumina. But you guys, I saw you said this and that. Well done.
Thank you,
Jacqueline. Mukawapela mashina. Mwabapela ngana ashupo kubatwalira straight. Let Vamusha sign the letter. And when you're saying, why is Vamusha still in the diaspora? Let Vamusha tell you the process. Because Vamusha is in the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. One point I wanted to raise from what you've just said. The president watches what we do, and that's very flattering. But there's nothing special about us, and there shouldn't be anything special about Bakwetu. Zambia is big. Every youth, every citizen is important. Yes, we're a little bit important as well, but we should be just part of that importance. But we should not be an exclusive club like Bakwetu. If we wrote a letter, the president will attend to us. What about the young person in Shangombo, in Chipulukusu, in Dollar Road in Mufulira, in Kawama? How are they going to have a look in? Just because Linda Banks is on TVBAKWETU, she signs something and sends it to Dr. Muncha and it will be looked at. That is, again, it doesn't sit very well with me. It's great, but it doesn't sit well with me. There's no equality there. Mr. Chilufia, what did you want to say?
Linda, what is the solution?
Thank you.
Sorry. Maybe what is the solution? You've just said that person's sitting in Shangombo. I'm very interested. So what is the solution for the person sitting in Shangombo?
Thank you so much.
Because
the solution,
you and I should represent those people.
Okay. The solution is for our leaders to avail themselves on platforms like these, where they can explain in detail, in simple language, what the process of application is. So they can explain, if you're interested in becoming like the first secretary to the United Kingdom, for instance, of trade or whatever, let's say the foreign affairs minister would come on here or any other TV station and explain. So you need to get your Ngani Greto Vafaya, Ngani Shanyuko, take it to Shanshani. Now, all we see is rumors and innuendos and pictures flying. Oh, these people have been ratified, or application process is finished. So if we can have our leaders, even a process of just sensitizing people. So this quarter, we're going to be looking for 7 ambassadors to Shine. Not from my stories, from Maria Shmukali Mbusha. This is what has been happening, and it's very disheartening. I receive, including all my BAKWETU friends, receive hundreds of messages. Oh, imomweba ishwako ba Akateka, or mweba ishwako ba Jacqueline, or Mbako State House, or something like that. And I'm like, do you know what, buddy? I have no idea. I wouldn't even know where to take my own application letter, let alone tell you. So simple answer to that is our leaders, excuse me, to avail themselves and to tell us the exact procedures on how to make these applications. Mr. Chilo.
But Linda, and sorry, BAKWETU, I'll beg to differ a little. Shangombo that we're talking about has community radio.
It's an example.
No, I know it's an example. I just want to make this clear because it's amongst ourselves. And I just want us maybe at some point to just understand how certain things are working. Even if you look at Joe Biden's government today, he will tell you that there are people writing letters to that government. He shouldn't make it any different. Muliba PF kwale bafi omuntu ayima State House yapanga ekyongo ne kadda nekiyite nga tabampera audience ba president mayiro okukopa bell tukaba riot bampera audience. Just listen, Linda, please. So what we are saying is, even their procedures are known. You and I are learned. You and I are representing communities. Me, I don't come from a home where I was born with a golden spoon or silver spoon in my mouth, where I stand here. And I represent a community in Kafue that today we are building, when we're trying to build back Kafue industry. But you know why? We are even at a stage where we are saying we're going to build back Kafue to the small Germany town it used to be when I was growing in the 70s, is because we've refused to say we will remain behind. The community radios that have been set up all around Zambia, which are more than 60 radio stations, do publicize this. The issue of internet in Shankombo, for instance, I will tell you this because I've been working in there, not even in government, in the development world under the United Nations, is also about internet providers like Zamtel or whatever. But these people get to watch ZNBC TV in certain areas and they understand. So for me, I think instead of really running to the president, let's hold our members of parliament in these areas to account. For so many years, especially the last 10 years, we've just let our members of parliament go scot-free. Imagine a member of parliament, when they're campaigning to come into office, they tell you, "Nkamiletela umsebo, nkamiletela internet, nkamiletela signal." Immediately you vote them in, the guy doesn't even come back to constituency. Do you know how many cases we've documented where members of parliament have never come back to constituency? The next time I serve, I'm on 3-4 years. And glad that today Zambians are so awake that if you as a member of parliament does not show up, they write. So Linda, for me, what I'm trying to say is, please, just a minute. What I'm trying to say is, I think tuachita kufika research panono, tuachita understand exactly what is happening on the ground. The president has told people, give me names. When you sit with him, he'll tell you, someone has given him 4 names. When you look at those 4 names, how do you give the president a name like Emmanuel Mwamba? Are we serious? How do we give a name like Antonio Mwamba, Antonio Mwanza, Dixon Jerry?
But Jacqueline, are you telling us that the president does not have the name?
You and I have to agree from today that okay, twala bapela names.
Okay, but Jacqueline, thank you so much. Let me let a few others come in. There has been a comment. Someone said, but Jacqueline, we respect what you're saying, but what are you talking about? Because we've given him Movita Nawa and others what is going on there. But the points that you made about members of parliament, perhaps in the past not doing what they should be doing, this is a point I was trying to raise. Our leaders need to tell us the processes, the procedures on how these things have to be done. I cannot tell you a lie. I do not know what the process is. I do not even know where to send an application later. Later on, tell a youth where they should go. So if I don't know, I mean, anyway, but Patrick, it's your turn. Then we'll get in Professor Kasonso, then Dr. Barbara.
So I'm going to stay here until we finish. Because Vankashi and Jacqueline now Vampokela Chila. Anyway, but Jacqueline, thank you so much. Everything you've said, Bakasonso, thank you, Barbara. I'm gonna talk my own like a Nigerian. But
go for it, my brother.
But Jacqueline, I'm so surprised and disappointed at the same time to learn that the president doesn't have the names of the people to appoint today. Because then there's a problem with our party. There's also a problem with the system. And then all those advisors at State House should be fired today. Because this party, if I know this party because I've had meetings with HH, meetings with Musokotwane, most of his ministers, when we were in the global diaspora fundraising initiatives, and we formed so many committees. There's a committee for policy making in which now our permanent secretary of defense, Paku, we were together, brilliant minds. So you tell me all those groups, they were youth who were sleeping at State House, few weeks before the elections. Most of them educated, and some of them are in the diaspora supporting. You tell me there was no database created for the UPND people who are so intelligent, the president to select from. If that's the case, then I'm so worried about our party, and it's really, really sad that. And then, but Jacqueline, you mentioned Bakwetu writing a letter signed by Dr. Munsha. What about those people who are not on Bakwetu? And on the appointment of Bapaji Kaunda, this is not me saying it, but Jacqueline, if you know, social media today, internet freeze actually, because Zambia. Because a lot of people are asking questions. This is not me. This is one of my friends and who is a very staunch UPND supporter. Paji Kaunda has been in State House for 27 years. Nishani, the cake is not equal. So this person is saying, so in English, yes, but Jacqueline, I agree with you. I used to talk to Bachipakupaku all the time, and we even brought Panji Kaunda on Bakwetu. Panji Kaunda did a lot of work to Eastern Province for UPND, just like many other people. But people are thinking, if I don't belong to a class of the Kaundas or Manawasas or the Musokotwanes, I will never get an appointment. And yet, our president told us that when he becomes the president, that young man in Luapula, in Mansa, is going to be appointed as an ambassador. And then today they hear that Panji Kaunda, who is retired, has been appointed. I'm not condemning that. Obviously, the president is the appointing officer. He's got the rights to do that. And then look at what Pilato wrote. There is something good about the UPND press singers because he heard what was happening on the internet. When they are not happy, they can act. They don't hide. I think it's refreshing to see And then this one of the UPND members made a comment on Pilato's WhatsApp or Facebook. Why hide a wrong? A wrong is a wrong. Those ancestors should be resting. Kwapwa. So the youth are not happy. It's not me saying it. But Jacqueline, go and tell Bakateka. The youth are fuming. And you can think about them, because if I was a youth in Zambia like myself, I'm educated, I'm experienced, I fought for UPND, and then I'm standing there. They come and appoint Panji Kaunda, and Panji Kaunda is my father. How am I going to feel that I'm useless? Even as a youth, I'm going to be jumped, and then somebody old will be picked up. And then Bakasonso mentioned something very important. In a lot of countries, the older people, they bring them as advisors. You know, it's not necessary you have to appoint Mr. Musokotwana as the Minister of Finance. He can come as an advisor to the Minister of Finance, and then start grooming a young man. There's so many Zambians all over the world. We've got, what's her name? The lady in Zambia, the economist in America. She's written books. Yeah, well respected. Why don't you bring Dabisa and make her Reserve Bank governor, and then Kariaria advises Dabisa Moyo or Minister of Finance, because that lady is against borrowing.
Exactly.
And we're suffering. She's even written a book against borrowing. Yes. So if you brought Dabisa and make her a finance minister, and Mr. Musokotwane advising her and supporting her, then you're grooming the youth.
Thank you.
You know, going forward. That's my point. You know, and then Bakasonso also mentioned a very important thing. You cannot point one on one with the old and the young. No way. It has to be 5-1 or 10-1. And this is the worry about many youth, you know. But Jacqueline, that point you made about Bakateka getting a letter to know who to appoint, I'm so disappointed. If that's the situation, go and tell Bakateka, one of your biggest supporters is crying now. I rest my peace, Vanasasha.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Vaniki, welcome to the program. It has been ages since we had you. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. What is your contribution? We have talked about an awful lot of things. Have you been following the program, or do you want me to brief?
No, I've been following, and thank you for bringing me on board. Good evening to everyone, and good afternoon to Dr. Kasonso.
Happy birthday, boy.
Yeah, happy birthday, by the way, Dr. Kasonso.
Thank you, Vaniki. Mfirima tumina koka kapu chibukwero mpokera birthday.
Ile tukemi tumina tubisa kekesi.
Thank you, sir.
Nangulu tuku.
Nawe tuku yabamunsha kubwai.
Yeah, so my contribution is, first of all, this is a health conversation, and it's something that is worth discussing. And I want to appreciate this panel, because whatever we are discussing here, this is what we are supposed to be doing to help our government make the right decision for the benefit of every Zambian. But Jacqueline, your contributions, you are spot on. And when I talk about Panji Kaunda, I think I've had an opportunity to listen to him speak. In my view, yes, we may disagree with this appointment in one way or the other because of his age, but I still think this is a strategic appointment. My only request to the powers that be is let's encourage more young people to be involved in leadership. Even as we are looking at these appointments in the Foreign Service, let's encourage more young people and more women to be involved in this leadership. And when we talk about what process or how do we go about identifying who should be appointed, I believe each and every Zambian is represented in whichever constituency where they are. It's the duty of the citizens and also the members of parliament to identify those brilliant young men and women who can represent this country in a very, very good manner when they are sent out there. Whether they are abroad or they are serving the country within, where they are serving the nation within, someone should be there to identify those brilliant minds. So, by Jacqueline, our request probably maybe as part of TVBAKWETU Team is, can the president task his members of parliament to identify those brilliant minds, even those in Shangombo, who can be appointed in some of these positions? Because not everyone will have that privilege of writing a letter to the president or being on TVBAKWETU as we are right now. So thank God you are here and we are presenting this request. Can we have more young people and more young women appointed in these leadership roles? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Babs.
Thank you, Linda. It's been really interesting, and everything that everybody's saying, I take it on board, and especially what Jacqueline said. I'll still actually stand on what I said before, that the appointment of Pand is quite strategic and is an important person within the Eastern Province. For younger people, especially the youth, I'm slightly, some young person told me that, well, Barbara, don't worry, you may be appointed because your age is closer to Abraham. Who knows?
All right,
our ancestors who were there, who started the political ground of Zambia. It's so nice when we ask, us who live in the diaspora, and when you're in America, you're in England, you'll be like, older people should be in roles, well, there'll be advisory roles, etc. We also have to learn about our cultural ground, our history, and our stand as a country where we are right now. What do we have in place of advisory roles? Do we have those in place? Do we have places where we can appoint these people? Where are we coming from? If you don't understand your history, you won't know where you're going. Where are we coming from? It's, for example, when we were campaigning, it is okay for Bapanji to come on and campaign, and because we needed him, we needed the Eastern vote. Believe it or not, the Eastern Province, those my Mbuyas, they are so rigid in their voting system. Mm-hmm. Over the years, even when Kaunda was no longer Kaunda, they voted for him. They stood their ground. That's who they are. It's not like they're going to change after 2 weeks. No, they won't. Mm. So you have to be strategic in understanding what they're doing. Then you go to Malawi. Malawi, just like Congo, is a very strategic part of our development in Zambia. From where we are coming from, we've got a lot of things in common. Malawi in that corner of Zambia is the Congo in the corner of, Luapula side of things. They are like brothers, they're the same family. If these people work together on the same ground where they know each other, it would help us. Now, the only thing I can advise our president and our information strategy is the same appointment would have been made after appointing younger people. It wouldn't have made a difference. You would have been excited, oh, blah, 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 has been appointed, that one has been appointed. And then lastly, we've also appointed this person. And it wouldn't make a difference. But now we are all talking about why are they not appointing young people? Only 5 posts have been mentioned. There are many more to come. But maybe it would have been done the other way around.
Yeah.
But having said that, we also have to understand that if HH was to develop Zambia like Singapore, you have to be a bit of a dictator, and we don't want him to be a dictator, let's face it.
Okay. Thank you.
If Zambia would be developed like it would go the way of Rwanda, we would want him to be a bit like the Rwanda president. We don't want him to be like that, because to develop Africa, to develop any third world country, you have to put your foot down. Yeah. In Singapore, people were being taught where to poo. Let's face it, I'm not even joking. If you go to the Asian countries before, people just bend down and poo, and they continue walking wherever they are. No problem.
No,
people have to be taught how to be clean, how to speak. They had to teach them. Yeah. And it was such a painful experience for people who were used to doing their own things.
Yeah.
To move from that type of setup to come and become the Singapore or the Malaysia that we know now.
Yeah.
For Zambia to go that way, if Zambia could go that way, people should be punished for throwing garbage in the streets of Lusaka.
Thank you so much.
You can't just be throwing garbage and get away with it.
Thank you so much.
I submit before I go to something else.
I know. All of us on Bakwetu, this is why we are the great Bakwetu, a collection of voices. We have talk time to last God knows what. We can talk till the cows come home. So someone has to call time, and it seems like rude trying to cut your very important point. What you just said there, Rwanda, if you spit a gum. But at Balakaka, Rwanda, you go on the streets, it's Kigali, so clean. So very important points that you've raised.
Belinda, I worked and lived in Rwanda.
Yeah.
So I can tell you what I experienced in Rwanda.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yes. Then we'll come to Professor Kasonso.
Thank you.
I don't want to go so much into appointments. The president has done it. The president has done it, and we cannot reverse it. No. The appointment is legit. So, Wopanji, congratulations. Okay. You are the ambassador for Malawi. So the thing that I wanted to say, just a few seconds, was going back to Wolungu. I just wanted to tell Wolungu to please be in your hibernation and enjoy and entertain Wom Salimuhulu, our distinction Bachelor of Arts, whatever degree holder lady, than coming to start negating the works of the current regime that are just simply doing their job, that investigating you or your government of their illegal and illicit activities that took place, that you, Wolungu, acknowledged there was a lot of theft, there was a lot of corruption. It is on record where you agreed. So there's no way you could just turn around and start naming or saying those things or playing this persecution card as being persecuted. Thank you. We don't want that.
So when we talk about our elders occupying advisory roles, we have to, let me borrow language from my field. Well, there's a phrase we use in my field called going concern. Going concern is an enterprise that is going to continue in operational existence for the foreseeable future. Going concern is an enterprise, speaks of an enterprise that is going to continue in operational existence for the foreseeable future. That is how we must run the country. We must run the country as if it's going to continue in operational existence for the foreseeable future. So we must create a pool of talent and highly skilled people who are going to carry on from one generation to the other generation. When we talk about our elders occupying advisory positions, we are saying that as people grow, their generation grow. For example, only 1 or 2 people will be president in one generation. Only one person is going to be a president in 1 or 2 generations. We're not going to have 2, 3 presidents in the same generation. So we must carry on this building blocks on each generation. We must build a pool of talents and highly competent people. So let me give you practical examples. When we say our elders should be in advisory roles, we are acknowledging that they've accumulated valuable experience. Valuable experience, we need it. Throwing them in the front lines inhibits the generations following them from not taking on their responsibilities. But if they take advisory roles, then we can use some of their experiences to feed those who are in the front lines to do that. How can we do that? We can't say there are no advisory roles in the Republic of Zambia. There are a slew of advisors at State House, for example. How many advisors at State House are from the prior generation? Most advisors at State House are either younger than the president or about the same age as the president. For example, if you take that lady who is the economic advisor, I would even take her as a Minister of Finance and take the Minister of Finance as the advisor to the president, in my view, as we are building on the talents for the generations, because that advisor would advise the president and will also be a guide to the Minister of Finance. So we are building a going concern for the foreseeable future. Our seniors can also sit on boardrooms. That's the purpose of the board. The board is a group of elders, the group of elders who guide enterprises in the direction. They understand the issues of the past. They also understand the issues of the future. And also in the embassies, they are minister counselors. They are minister counselors who are the ones who are able to offer both advisory services to the personnel in the embassy now to represent the country, as well as the ambassador, the president's personal representative. Tulenda na pali Congo. So na Congo nako, batu meko abakolochi. Aikona men, we are a growing concern. I am advocating for my generation to take their place in this generation and this government. You know, he point that for to compromise, we must not hand over the responsibilities of our generation to the parents of our time. The parents of our time are there to advise us, and we must take responsibility for the future of this country in our time. That's my position.
Thank you so much. But Jacqueline, did you have anything to add to what Patrick and Bom Kelevai, Dr. Babs, and Professor Kasonso? And before you do that, I just wanted to say that we're so privileged as TVBAKWETU to have you, who is in the know, in the inside, and it's by us arguing your points, it shouldn't make you feel like, oh, we disagree with whatever you're saying. But I think it's very healthy for us to be to air our views and our concerns. And we are coming from a privileged position in the fact that people are sending us information. They've got all these concerns, so we have to table them with you. So it's such a privileged position that we have, where you're actually here. So do you have anything to add or any new information to share with us based on what everyone else has said before we move on to the next topic?
Thank you, Linda. Linda, I'm very grateful because I believe in discourse. And you know, where we have discourse that brings divergent views, that's where people find solutions. And from what everyone has said, they're really valuable points, and especially that this population that we have back here at home in Zambia is more than 60% youth. And I really do understand. And at the same time, I do understand that we probably come from a background where we expect that the government will call out anything and everything that they want. But we might have a different style this time because we probably have, you know, the top man at the job, His Excellency not wanting to call for things, but expecting that people will send in information because he's coming also from a business background. And I think you know that in business, normally even in corporate, they'll tell us what you want, give us that paper, that concept note. I truly appreciate. And for me, the views that I expressed on Bakwetu are very important because there's so many people listening and there's so many people watching. But we also need to bear in mind that we will have certain very strategic appointments that will come up. Also, not only about a name, but proximity and what people have done in those other countries.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I know people that are Zambians by birth, but are descendants of the DRC. And because of that, they have very strong roots in the DRC, and maybe their families on that side of the DRC command a lot of trade, and they have a lot of command in the business and the government. And the president might feel that, look, this Zambian by birth that we have also has this presence. And if we appoint them strategically, it will benefit Zambians.
Yeah.
And I believe that this government, like some governments before, and I'm using the word some very categorically, I know I'm sure you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Some governments did that before. We had seen ambassadors way before some governments where we questioned and said, but why that ambassador? And then years later, we realized, oh, wait a minute. It's actually because they could speak Portuguese very fluently on that end. So anything that was said out there, they were able to actually tell the government back home and say in English, but because they were very fluent speaking Portuguese.
Yeah.
Then number two, when I said about, a letter from Bakwetu, it has nothing about degrading Bakwetu media. There are protocols of governance or government, even to the US government. Even today, if Michelle Obama decided that she wants to contest the next presidential elections in the United States, she will have to write to the current president. So sometimes writing doesn't mean that you are on the weaker link, but it means that you're placing your idea, your ambition on record.
Yeah.
And the fact that you go into registry, somebody should be able to say, no, wait a minute, we did receive a letter. We gave them a copy as received, stamped. They wrote to us, so that's what it is. So for me, I think that let's not shy away to write to President Hichilema, also because President Hichilema is a new president, it's a new government. There's nothing wrong with writing to him. It might take 2-3 weeks to respond, yes. And thirdly, there's always a process on appointing people. We can question Dr. Munsha, we can question myself, we can question yourself, Linda, we can question Professor Kasonso, we can question Patrick, we can question Dr. Barbara. Why are they not being appointed? There's a process. And I think all we need to do is to understand the process. But truly, for me, I am happy with the discussion and the discourse that we have here.
Excellent.
It's very healthy. Because discourse. I'm sure I'm going to Thanks, Linda. Thanks, darling. Thank you.
No, that folk fipenya, not yet. We'll leave it until Professor Kasonso's birthday celebration background. A very important point you raised there about strategic appointments that the president might be doing. There's one particular one of a gentleman who's been placed in Saudi Arabia. But Jacqueline, you probably are in the know about this. So I think he grew up in Saudi Arabia and he speaks Arabic very fluently. So the president has appointed him as a representative for Zambia there. So very important points that you have raised. We have been joined.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Absolutely.
And Linda, Linda, just a question, Cleaver Jacqueline. There is also a lot of, I don't know whether it's speculation or it's propaganda. A lot of youth have received some text. They are saying the other lady who has been appointed as Zambia's permanent representative to the United Nations, who will be based in Switzerland, is actually Sylvia Masebo's sister. So that also has caused a lot of outrage in the media. So we don't know how true it is.
I think that
that is very true. Linda, can I come in and just say that is very true?
Other people are saying, Jacqueline, other people are saying, so you have to be related to somebody, or you have to be related to a Kaunda or a Mwanawasa to be appointed. Those are the statements. It's not me who is saying it. We're just reporting as Bakwetu. But this is what the people are saying. So in a way, kuchambodi na lisambirila. But I'm not related to a Musokotwane, to a Kaunda, to a Sylvia Masebo, so I'll never be appointed. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Someone actually sent me a message and said, Linda, if you're not appointed to this, this will be outrageous. And I'm thinking, we don't have these big surnames, you know, we're not known. We're just non-entities, so to speak. So that's a very important point what Patrick has raised. So do you have to have a big name? Your father must be known to be appointed to these positions. This is what people are asking.
But Linda, the lady appointed truly is a sister to Sylvia Masebo. Let's put it on record.
Yeah.
She's been a career civil servant. I think I want to encourage everyone to read her bio. When she joined the civil service, what she's done, and how long she's been at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She's been a director there. Having said that, but Linda, there's so many names in government right now of people that we don't know. In a paktimbe fena pa forum yeno apanile sa. Paktimbe fena kushwa ba kainda mupe pina mante kona ishwanile sa. People fight, huh? So I think what we need to do is also to educate our people that if Patrick, Lelo Baingram civil service, Baingra, for instance, at his level, Patrick cannot enter anything below director. Before we know it, Patrick is qualifying for a PS or a minister because of his qualifications and experience of where he's coming from. Therefore, after 2 years or 4 years, Babachita point, Kabien to Switzerland or to New York, we should not complain. I think one of the things we need to start doing, and this is very important, is to just go and read the bios of these people. Yeah. If no one has presented the bio, let's start from today to demand that we're given bios of these people. Because you will find that Timiturela and Domuntu, and you find they've been in the civil service for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And how they've risen actually shows you that, they left university, they came in really at entry level, and then they rose through the years and what they've achieved, like anywhere else. And I think that to say that the names, Ineba Linda, Batata was a designer who Kafue textiles, me, I'm not a Lusaka girl. No one should never make that mistake of even saying Jackie at Lusaka person, the full one. We grew up in Kafue, a small Germany town then. At the time my father was dying, he was chief executive in a defunct Kafue textiles. My name is not known anywhere. I've had to work like you, Chilufia, like you, Linda. Today, when I say in Lusaka, no, I was talking to Linda Banks. I get my friends who tell me, Linda Banks from Bakwetu, you are lying. And I'm saying, I'm not lying. She's a colleague. How? You see? So it's things like that we need to understand. I am not favoring nepotism. Get me right here. But what I'm saying is, even you and I tomorrow might have a brother, a sister, a nephew, a niece, an uncle who's been in the civil service for 20 years.
Yeah.
The minute they'll be appointed to a certain position, someone is going to say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. Very important points that you've raised there. Looking at bios on the Sunday show, we're doing just that. Actually, we've started with women who've gone on to do incredible things, who are not known to the ordinary Zambian. So we're trying to highlight what people are doing outside, so that when they're appointed, you don't get spooked. Like, oh gosh, where did they come from? Last Sunday we had an incredible woman.
Can I say something, Linda?
Just a second. Just a second, I'll give you a chance to speak. So as I was saying, last Sunday we had an incredible woman called Grace Malunga, who was an aspiring mayor on the UPND ticket, has been with UPND for the past 20 years. If she was appointed by God's grace, and people will be like, where did she come from? So your point, Mwachita, raised by Jacqueline, of us highlighting Amabayo Yabantu or just featuring them on different shows, it's very important. And Patrick and Professor Kasonso featured a brilliant young lady on Monday. So these are some of the programs we're trying to bring to our Bakwetu viewers. Now, Womkeleba, I wanted to add something before I bring in our new guest, someone who's never been here. I can't recognize the name. Womkeleba, very briefly, please, go for it.
No, my fear, Jacqueline, you are very, very, very well articulated. My fear or my concern is repeating the history. We are the people that has been condemning the PF for employing or bringing in their own relatives or whatever. Of course, they did it worse because they did it. They were not following meritocracy. They were just bringing in their own people and stuff. But now I'm looking at this issue of saying, here's a president, the ex-president, who is busy talking of hypocrisy. And then I see these two elements to that sound similar to hypocrisy, like we condemned these appointments, and yet we are busy favoring. We are busy favoring those who stood by us. I can hear myself twice.
Okay. Can we just mute ourselves if we're not speaking, please? Thank you.
So that is my concern. I don't want us to go back. Why do I feel that we are trying to go back to the same? It's like we are using that WW, wako ni wako, for as long as you stand by me, you support me, you are from Malawi, you have the ties with Malawi, I'll give you a post, I'll give you this. Are we not being hypocritical when it comes to that aspect?
Okay, good question.
Are we being categorical, or are we applying meritocracy? Is that what meritocracy means?
Thank you.
You only appoint those who who are supporting you. What's the difference from the PF constitution?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Womkeleba. I want everyone to be thinking about that question, especially Mahad Kova UPND, Dr. Babs, but resident doctor. Are we being hypocritical and doing the things? So be thinking about that as we bring in our new guest, Chanda Kelvin Chishimba. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for waiting for so long.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Linda, for allowing me in. I'm actually a guest of Dr. Kasonso. But I find the topics you bring up very interesting and very progressive. And here's my take. First of all, regarding the appointment of Mr. Panji Kaunda as High Commissioner to Malawi. I think the biggest problem we have in Zambia today, firstly, is a sense of entitlement to positions because we supported a certain candidate, a certain party, and that party has, managed to form government. That speaks to what kind of loyalty do we have to the country, as individuals, right? The second problem is, I think the employment and business space in Zambia is so narrow that everyone wants to gravitate towards politics. Everything we do in Zambia is about politics. You can have 1 million cockroaches die in Kasama, people will say, what's the government doing about this? We need to reset our minds and start doing things that are beneficial to the country, progressive to the country. Dr. Kasonso talked about a balance between the youth and the older generation. And his suggestion is, the older, generation must be advisors. But that too has, some holes in it. Why? Because the world has moved to a point where the older generation might not grasp, the things that are happening today, right? We've always heard the cliche that youths are the leaders of tomorrow. First of all, well, they say what? Youths are future leaders of tomorrow. First of all, tomorrow is a future. So how are we using future with tomorrow in the same sentence, right? And here, hear me right, I'm not advocating for just a youth for leadership. No, it's the right mix. What age is this individual at? How effective are they in this position we're trying to appoint them in? You see that? We're not just going to appoint people because they supported us. I refuse that. You see that? There are people probably on this show that supported the UPND to the hilt. I don't think they're looking for positions. I think they have professions they are happy with, and they're making progress and things like that. You see, but we need to start streaming towards encouraging our youthful population to take over the mantle. If they don't do that, it's like asking for advertising a position in a private company, asking, saying, hey, we need somebody that's 35 years and has 40 years experience. You see that? So these are some of the things that we need to start discussing. And just real quick, every time there's a change of government is a breath of fresh hope by the people of Zambia. But guess what? We see the same things over and over and over. Yes, the Patriotic Front leadership, amassed illicit wealth. Yes, we agree. But look at it this way. When President Chiluba came in, he started chasing after Kenneth Kaunda. Yeah. When Mwanawasa came in, he started chasing after Frederick Chiluba. When Rupiah Banda came in, he was harassing Michael Sata. The trend has continued. So my point is, why can't we be proactive and say, guys, okay, we've been doing this all these decades. Why not? I'll make a fresh start and take to Parliament a law which says if you are arrested for corruption, it's non-bailable. If you are convicted for corruption, it's minimum 25 years in jail. That's a fresh start. You start there and people see that, oh, that person was arrested. They have not been bailed out. That person has been convicted. They are going to serve 25 years. Trust me. Abantu bakamba okutina ng'omuliro. Not to kuba reactive. If you are Kalefionse kula fileta or yo washtire shining under 10 years ago. That's ridiculous, guys. We need progress. We need movement. But I'll stop here for now.
Thank you very much. Such important points that you have raised. A whole fresh constitution on corruption, especially. I think we need some stringent rules, regulations, and just people to be accountable. And if we see that someone has heavily paid for their sins, so to speak, people deterred from making the same mistakes. That quite nicely leads me on to the next topic, because our new guest talked about perhaps changing the constitution. I wanted us to talk about what the president mentioned previously about perhaps changing the constitution when it comes to including more women, because at the moment we have Dr. Babs and Patrick Kasons and Bachilufia, who are staunch UPND supporters. So in the UPND manifesto, what is the percentage of women representation? Is it 30% or 50? Who knows, Dr. Babs or Mr. Chilufya?
It's 50.
It's 50, not 30. Oh, is that by Jacqueline? Who spoke?
Quite, because even
I
our
think
president had said it much earlier that it was 50. So even up to today, I stick to 50. But on the ground, it's not 50, Linda.
It's not.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I was very happy, I must say, to hear that the president has been considering changing the constitution so that it's a bit more inclusive for women, because women have got like I mentioned in the last program, we're talking about this amazing woman, and we talked about barriers that women face when it comes to getting into politics or just into leadership or management per se. So there's things like, their parents. If, let's say, I've got a job, every so often I work in Brussels, I have to think about childcare. I have to think about who's picking up my child and various other technicalities. So it was really lovely to hear the president is looking into changing the constitution so that women are given and is sort of a platform to sort of function without too many restrictions. Does anyone have something to say about that? Shall we go for Dr. Babs?
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, in the UPND, we have a 50% representation on paper, but at the moment, it's not quite fit.
Nowhere near.
Can
we be honest?
Nowhere near. Like in the cabinet, we only have 2 females at present, I think. Yeah. Or is it 3? So
the we have Minister of Information, Honorable Masebo.
We have 3, I think.
Else.
Yeah, it's 3.
Oh, and Honorable Doreen Mwamba. Yes.
Mwamba. So it's
about
the 3 of them.
Women. Yeah, 20 men, 5 women, like that.
Yeah, so the president has mentioned about changing the constitution and trying to make it more easier for women to get into politics. In the past, a lot of women shunned politics because it gave an impression that it was for the rowdy female, the feisty, the bad one who would go into politics. That's why I remember my mom telling me that she didn't like going to all these political grounds where there were women. And the first thing she would say is that, because that's the impression they have, because it was not made as a professional thing. And in the last government as well, it didn't give so much hope because the language that the women were using, it was so vile that you wouldn't want, if I had a female child, I wouldn't want them to listen to certain women and say this is what you should aspire to, because it was really bad. But once the constitution is put in place and people realize that being a politician is not just about being vile, it's not just about insulting people, it's actually a very important job about looking after people. It's the same thing as being a doctor. You're given a role to look after a certain group of people. Mm-hmm. The only difference is that you're not looking after their health, you're looking after their entire welfare. So it's a very important job. The other thing is, with our cultural setup, we have to put things in place in writing for them to work. I'm very strong about having civil servant examinations that they had before, the way they have them in South Korea. Mm-hmm. The way KK started in Pelembe High School, the school that I went to. It was about the 10 best kids in Wakula, 10 best kids in Western, all the 10 best kids in each province who got the highest scores went to Pelembe. Yeah. And then they trained there. They can do the same things for the civil service. 10 best kids who scored, so that the civil service is not looked as a thank you job. Right now, even when we mention though they can get a singer to go and become a diplomat because we think it's for saying thank you. No, that job is a very important job. That's a job where people will be sitting around with other CEOs of different companies, You can come to England, sit down with the CEO for Sainsbury's, Waitrose to say, what does Zambia produce? You want somebody who has this information on their fingertips.
Yeah.
You want somebody who can represent Zambia the best way that they can, somebody who can actually come and say, you know what, Zambia is the place to be. Zambia is where you can do business because A, B, C, D. Not because just flashing out gifts and just take out one copper ornament and say you're doing your job. No, you have to give that pitch the best way that you can, the way Bali does it. That's how everybody should be. If anything, all the ministers, all the women, all they need to do is emulate what Bali is doing. Even the ministers, all they need to do is take a YouTube video, look at him, the way he's talking, the way he's representing himself, and that's all you need to do.
Yeah. And so, very, very important points that you've raised as well. I just want to go to what the president actually said. So President Hakainde Hichilema has called for amending the constitution to allow for proportional representation. Generally, because women are our mothers and they tend to make to take more time to care for their children and for us. So it's important that employers and the labor unions and the government will pay particular attention to the welfare of women. So I think this is quite important that this is done. But Jacqueline, what are your views on that? And then I'll bring in Vaniki very quickly.
Thank you very much, Belinda. I think Dr. Barbara has really said it very correctly, and it's very refreshing, especially all the points that she's raised. I just want to add on and say that, you know, the last 10 years, our youths were meant to believe that a fast deal creates your future. Whereas you and I and many others on BAKWETU, even Machilufia, but he can give us years of having worked. So, right? And that's how life is. I can even tell you that in 1982, my father bought a black and white TV. And at some point, we didn't even know what it was. But that's life. So what I'm trying to drive at is that I value the youth, number one. I work with the youth. We all work with the youth. We want youth representation. But I think what we've lost along the way, especially the last 10 years, is our youth were used to fast money. Here's a politician who tells the youth, Iwe wala banka wandi. They send this young boy or girl to do all kinds of things. Take money here, drop it here, pick this, do that, dubious things, take these papers. They give them 1,000 a day, whereas they know that their friend makes 1,000 a month, in a month. And you know, life goes on like that. Now, we are reverting back to what is the normal, where we have a government and a president who believes that let's go through the normal channels so that we build the discipline of life. We achieve through the discipline of life. If you and I are qualified, Linda, and we've got all the experience, let's be given the opportunity. If someone is rising, let's do that. I liked one thing that Barbara said, especially, and I'm losing my thought, around, I think just, you know, the whole working together and understanding the dispensation. And I think which is important. And right now, I would urge all of us to start understanding this dispensation. Every morning when I wake up, I always tell my husband that it feels a bit like we are going back to the Manawasa era, where we all woke up with question marks. And then a year or two later, we're like, oh, wow. So this was what the question marks were about. But now, because we experienced that, I don't want to go through a year of a question mark. Instead, I want to say this question, what does this question mark translate into? And then Linda, I also just want to say to everyone on the platform, the family, BAKWETU, to our family, because you and us, all of us are one, is that team, we need a lot of help among our young people. We can talk on their behalf, but it's another thing to get them in a room and talk, because what they're thinking of, I have encountered young people who say, why do you want me to make 10,000 in a month when I can make 10,000 in a day? And when you ask them how they can make that 10,000 in a day, it worries you. But for me, I think that if this government is straight on policies, is stringent on lawbreakers, bring them to book, show the rest of us what will happen if you break the law, change policy, good policy, enhance it, bad policy, discard it, bring in new policy, we're headed for big things. But I just want to say thank you, Dr. Barbara. I think what you've said tonight, like many other nights, today you've really hit the nail on its head. We cannot pretend we just have to go in, be, straightforward, upright, and do the things the way they are supposed to be. And we can say, no, why Dr. Panji? I'll get back to that. I just want to say something else. But Panji, not Dr. Panji, but Panji Kaunda,
yes,
another thing about Panji Kaunda is, you know how Zambians would take their sacks of soybeans kumalawi, and then kula kumalawi nga bafika, balama Indians bamchipata na bayakale kumalawi kula kuine, bayashita negotiate low price. So Panji balishi be trick. Atame n'abantu besitulina abo mu Eastern Province ebaleya bamwenye baya ku Malawi belo bayalanda chawa bonse bakuzambia bakabwera mapase price yaso. Bapanji will get there and say where bamwenye bamiuzana at price in 20 kwacha saka ya soya beans in 120.
Thank you.
Then he will tell our traders from Malawi, from Zambia, imanga mwayakulia stick on 120. So you see how our people would make some money.
Absolutely.
So it's just a strategic appointment. Out with us, Sakamana.
Yeah.
There's a lesson. I think what we should be telling the president is, yes, you've appointed an old man. We are not happy. We have youths. Can you give him a deputy? That is a youth.
Yeah.
So that by the time he's leaving,
he mentors him into.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And yes, like I said earlier, Panji is a friend of the show, and he will take this with so much grace as I know him. I want us now to very quickly move on to another topic. We have a couple of topics that I would like us to cover before we call it a night, because looking at time, it's getting quite late. So earlier we heard that HH has shown the judges the door based on the JCC report, and now I would like to have Vaniki to comment on that. Can you just, if someone is just waking up, they are in some part of the world where it's morning, they don't know what this is about, what transpired and what are the implications of the president showing the judges the door? What led to it?
Yeah, so thank you, Valinda. So we know that we have the Judicial Complaints Commission, which received complaints about some judicial officers or officers of the judiciary. And in this particular instance, we had two judges where the report was submitted to the president regarding some form of not too sure whether I can call it misconduct in their performance of duty. So based on the recommendation from the JCC, the president did indicate to say he will the presidents will expeditiously act on that report. And late in the evenings of Friday, we saw something on social media where there was an indication to say one judge has since been removed from being the judge of the High Court, and the other judge has since been suspended So for now, that's what we know. In terms of the details of the report from the JCC, I'm not yet privy to the details. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone who would like to share some views on this one?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes, I would love
Chilanga,
one.
the floor is yours. Yeah, a couple of minutes, and then we can move on to the next.
Mrs. Banks, I just want to comment on the point that Kelvin Chimba made on the issue of, I'll be quick, on the issue of making corruption a non-bailable offense. I think that was a very important point. If you look at China, there was so much corruption in China, and at one point, and they realized that they will never develop with that kind of corruption. So corruption to them, it was extreme. Once you've been found guilty of corruption, the sentence is death. But I shouldn't say Zambia should do that. But I think non-bailable offense corruption, I think, is a good thing to do for Zambia. And then the other thing is corruption, Banasasha. We've been talking about this, Nabaka Sonso, on our one-on-one program. Corruption in Zambia, Bakateka Gavale Umfwa. And if I have to meet Bakateka, is because the systems are so weak. You know, the processes, the procedures, you might have good policies, good people, but if the systems and the processes are so weak, especially financial management and control, if those are weak, people are able to take advantage of those systems, the weaker systems, and steal from the government. So what the government needs to do is to strengthen the system. Like Ministry of Health has been a cash cow. The solution to Ministry of Health is, there are two solutions. One, digitize Ministry of Health, everything computerized, and then strong financial control. Then that problem is solved. If we don't do that, people will be finding loopholes because Vanasasha, where there is a paper trail, somebody can destroy the paper. Where is a computer trail? There is no way you can delete the system. I can delete something, but something is recorded in the background. So it's easy. So we need to move. We cannot be going around every government talking about the same thing. Something needs to be done. Okay, then on the issue of the two judges, I'm so excited that this, and sadly enough, one of the judges is a very good friend of mine from Kivu. Joshua Banda, who is the young brother to late Sky Banda, who was my pastor at Maranatha.
Sky Banda,
Yes. So Joshua Banda used to work with at Ezuka Mlenga and company with I've just forgotten the name. They used to be our lawyers when I was at Victory Ministries, and I used to talk to him all the time. So I'm so sad, but at the same time, I'm happy that this has happened because they've been.
Okay, why are you happy and why are you sad?
But you're going into church talk. Can you make your point?
Yeah, the point is. The point is whether I know Joshua Banda or not. There've been complaints about him and the other judge of corruption or misconduct, which is really sad. And this is inevitable. It has happened, and I don't want to hide. I'm looking forward for a similar report regarding the DPP, because the DPP needs to go also. We cannot afford, especially when we are fighting corruption, especially when we've got a government that wants to fight corruption, reduce corruption, the government that has the will to fight corruption. We cannot have judges who are supporting the corrupt people or the judges who are behaving contrary to the government policy. This is a good move. And the day the DPP, the report about that DPP will come and the president suspend or remove that DPP, I think I'm going to drink a glass of wine. I rest
Thank
my
you.
peace.
Thank you so much. Let's hear from our
Hi,
guest.
Linda. I have a guest for you. Linda, hi. I have a guest for you here.
Speak through the chair,
just
please.
to give
Speak
a
through
bit
the
of
chair. Jacqueline, sorry. Jacqueline, just a second.
Through the chair, Linda.
Thank you so
much. I have a
much.
guest for you just for a minute.
Let Vachanda speak, and then I'll come to you, Jacqueline, I promise. Vachanda, what are your sentiments?
Great. So, I mean, if the JCC has investigated those two judges and, have good cause, I'm happy with it. We need to take action with such things. Why? Because we cannot afford to have judges that are corrupt. They're tainting the image of the judicial system. That action by the president, if it's backed by correct investigation by the JCC, I'm good with it. Here's something very controversial I've always thought about. And I don't know what the other people will think, since we've spoken about judges, corruption, and the like, right? And the president firing these judges. What would happen if one day we woke up and said the president should not appoint the ACC Director General? The president should not appoint the DEC Director General. What if we woke up one day and said, let's go semi-federal and have, instead of the president appointing Inspector General of Police, let's make that position electable. And while we're making that position electable, let's ensure that each province has its own Inspector General and police commissioners. And I say this because these offices are sensitive offices which are easily manipulated by politicians. You see that? We, the people, will have more confidence in the operations of the ACC if they are truly autonomous. And that starts with the DG not being appointed by a president, because that person is at the service of a president. Why have you asked yourselves this? Why is it that each time there's a change of government, the ACC seems to work so efficiently, targeting former leaders? You know what I'm saying? If they store, yes, I agree. You are stealing from the Zambian people. You have to be investigated and targeted. But in order to remove the political interference or perceived interference, let's go that route and say, Bwana President, we have changed the law. You are not appointing these critical office bearers. I think for me, that's when the true independence of the police service, the DEC, the ACC will come into play. And they're very critical. Now, that doesn't mean that government cannot have oversight. The JCC, for instance, handles, mischief in the judicial system, right? These officers I've mentioned would be subject also to an institution that's providing oversight, right? Because if there's misconduct by the ACC Director General, for instance, somebody has to go report somewhere. You see that? Otherwise, if we continue with this trend, trust me, it will all be political persecution, and we know what kind of culture we are in Zambia. Somebody commits a crime, or at least they apologized, so let's move on. Life should not be like that. The law, if we are going to achieve the mantra of the rule of law, we have to make sure that the law is taking its course, apology or no apology. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to find a comment from a viewer that said Linda should use more English. Nachimichta one, that's it. Bakwetu, this is a chinto.
Make cubs is here.
Linda, I think you misunderstood. That's not what they meant. They want to hear your lyrics.
Is a stakeholder.
Dr. Babs, what did you say?
You are thinking the other way around. The person doesn't mean what you're saying. They want to hear your lyrics. Musical.
Inela chimwana tivairishanya tindelanda mchivemba natawe mlefa ndande mchilamba nangu mchilenje
Valinda ni mikochako ba guest pano balayanga titwalandeko nabo ka 1 minute
okay send
Nati nimbe shiva
na
balenshinga baja tabatumina be the president
chingolo bakasonso
nimbe shiva
banete michinge ero naimwe bachirufete timichinge olupwa nimo mkankokolako atama issues raise yali cardinal so balapo batupera kufe direction and after that won't say for number 2 shibefya kuchita na tote
Minister of Information
invite kudina
Patrick
you are invited to dinner.
This is after show ba Jacqueline tapali uko balea na imutoka tubere kubalani
Ba Jacqueline bali ba very professional balete ni nobody ne tamwa balete
I know ba Patrick ukwenda.
Good evening Bakwetu.
Good evening my brother.
Good evening. I listened to the discussions in the background. Unfortunately, some of the issues I can't comment because I probably know more than what the misinformation is all about.
Introduce yourself. First of all.
This is Dr. Kalabo.
Bakasonso na la myuma bali myuma popa live introduce yourself, sir, please.
Okay, this is Dr. Kalabo, Deputy Secretary for Cabinet in charge of administration.
Amazing.
Amazing.
And PS State House at the moment, substantially permanent secretary at State House.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on.
Now, shall we bow down? Shall we curtsy? What are we supposed to be doing here? This is our claim to fame. We spoke to
typical of my wife's clan. There are a big number of you are like that. Okay. I must say, I mean, I've been listening for a long time, not only tonight, from many days back. You give us a lot of homework, and you scratch our head with a lot of suggestions, and sometimes you confuse us. Because
that's our job.
Yeah. Because some of the proposals you come and clearly when I listen to them, I say, okay, that one is speaking from the American perspective, that one is speaking from this perspective, British and so on, because the systems are slightly different. And you have to understand the constitution, where we come from, and how you interpret it and unfold it in the governance system. So I like the last speaker was speaking about, no, this one should be appointed, this one not by the president. Yes, all those are nice ideas, but you, the people, us, the people, we have to give the government a constitution which allows for such a process, which allows for such governance structures. So it's not as easy as picking one structure or one proportion of doing things and bring it to Zambia, because it changes a lot of other issues along the way. So I like that, but you are researchers, Barbara there, and you are researchers. Sometimes I think just do your research. We listen, and it's a pity that it's verbal, so we rely on that. But for me, as an administrator, I would love it written. Then I would go back. You'll never hear us in these forums. We'll just go back and sit down and throw it to the permanent secretaries. Guys, this is what is coming out. What can we do about this so that we can make the politicians look good and achieve? By the way, as a civil servant, the first thing you do is to pick the manifesto of the party which comes in power and break it down to pieces and then see how do we now implement this. Of course, there are constraints to do with the resources and so on. Then you say, okay, if this is what they require, then what do we need? We need resources and so on. So how do we unlock resources? You have seen what the government is doing. The IMF program, we have to unlock that. If we come on the program, it will help us push and have more resources for programs and so on. Right now, we are spending 113 kwacha of our budget, meaning that we are borrowing about 13 kwacha for every 100 kwacha we spend. That's the reality on the ground. It's bad. We are in default mode. We are in default mode, and we need to unlock that. So when I hear these suggestions coming and your complaints and they are very good, because they are making the politicians, because you know what happens, whatever you say, for some reason you find the president is challenging you on this, challenging you on that. But the more I listen to that, oh, okay, so he listens. Why isn't this not happening? Why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? So we have to now start explaining ourselves. Sometimes it's the laws, and you have heard him say we need to change the constitution because some of the things he wants to achieve, he can't achieve them because the laws are cake. So we now Public Order Act, some investment laws, and so on. So you guys, you are great. You are doing the right thing. Continue. But as you do all these things, please remember to put it in writing. You're professionals where you are there. You left Zambia, went out there in diaspora. Put in writing. You've got your links here in Zambia. They will put and they'll send to the right offices, especially the Office of the Secretary to the Cabinet. We receive those things, we look at them, we dissect them, and see how we incorporate them when we are doing the policies and so on. Unfortunately, I think we haven't been good as government when we are doing the policy changes to reach out to the diaspora, to push in the ideas of what we are doing. But let me confess, as most of you know, when UPND was coming into power, or coming towards the election, there was a lot of consultation. There were a lot of teams in the diaspora. I know because I've seen documents when we're putting things together. We've seen documents and writes up and proposal what needs to be done. They are there. We have them. But there's one major problem. We are in debt default. We can't raise enough money to keep our country running. We have to borrow. Yeah. And the first priority for this is that we have to turn that around in the next 2 to 3 years to a point where the debt is sustainable. We push it longer. Instead of 5 years, maybe 15 to 20 years we pay, and so on, so that we can now push money to developmental issues because we need to create jobs. But if we don't create jobs for the youth, it doesn't matter which government you bring here, it won't be sustainable. It won't last because the youth rise up. So absolutely, we were in trouble. So we hear you. We hear the frustration of the appointment of the old people and so on. But again, the so-called Nkote, like myself.
He's still in
Linda, can I say something? Can I say something, Linda, real quick?
No, Linda.
Listen,
like Bomukerabai asked the old people, but please, as much as that, sometimes, yes, you condemn, you say ideas that can be stopped, but usually at the end of the day, a year, 2, 3 years down the line, you revisit this topic and say, was that the right appointment or not? People learn from their appointment or their mistakes in their appointment. And if those are repeated, then we know probably something right is not happening. But usually people learn and listen and say, okay, here I think that wasn't right. Let's put it. I like the lady who said the timing perspective and so on. Is it Barbara, Dr. Barbara, or something that?
Yes, it was me. Just put me on your list.
Doc. Now, what I want to say, PS, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Now, before everyone jumps into talking, I would like to give each one a little opportunity. Just a second. I'm so sorry. I will start with Dr. Barbara and then Vaniki. Just if you have a question or a very quick sentiment to the PS, I know you all want to speak to him, but we can't all jump in at once. Dr. Babs, quick question or sentiment?
Thank you so much. I don't have any questions. It's just a gratitude that you listen to our program and you've taken time, because it's really late now in Zambia, to come on the show and give us your perspective and your side of things, which is hand on heart. We are very proud of you, because that's something not easy to do, to come on social media, online to say your views, because a lot of people shun social media. And then personally, I'm very pro Zambia, very pro, because I'm one of the UPND's diehard people. So I'm grateful that you realize that we also have to, as people who live in diaspora, we have to learn our social settings. So that's why from the beginning, I keep saying we have to understand our social setting, our traditions, our cultures, and where we are, and then marry them together with maybe the diaspora, and then see what we can get half and half. So I just want to thank you for, coming on.
Thank you, Dr. Bob.
As in writing, I love writing like the Shakespeare, Waku Zambia, so you will hear from us.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. Svaniki, a quick sentiment or question?
Yes, so for me, it's just to say thank you so much, PS, for gracing us with your presence. And it's quite refreshing to learn that government does listen to what the citizens are bringing forth, to try and help government where we think they are not doing fine, and also just to encourage you where you are doing fine. Keep up with the good work, and we'll definitely be engaging you, even in writing, as you've recommended.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chilufya, I know everyone wants to have a word. A quick word, please.
Dr. Kalabo, good to hear from you. And I'm coming to Zambia on the 16th of June. I hope we'll meet, because there's something I need to present to the president. And hope you help me, because my heart has been on NHS. And whenever we're talking about, not NHS, has been on
health service.
Health service, because Nakalabo, from independence, Chiluba government, we've been talking about the same problems at Ministry of Health. Doctors not working, no quality service, machines are not working, medicines are stolen. Those problems can be solved only two things. And we're working on a document which we want to come and, because I work for the National Health Services, and I've got so much experience on how hospitals are run, managed. And the solution to that Ministry of Health is to digitize the system, the entire system, and then strong financial control. That can be done. There are Zambians who can do that. It will cost some money. If donors can put some money on Ministry of Health, which is a cash cow, donors can also help to put a system that will only protect Zambians, but also protect the coffers also, because the Ministry of Health is a cash cow, and we'll be talking about that year after year. And then the other thing you mentioned about was the president and the diaspora, which he called the 11th province. But Dr. Kalabo, I was part of the chair group of the Global Diaspora Fundraising Initiative. We used to have meetings with the president, with Dr. Msokotwane. I was involved in the policy making. And then we won the election. The president has never even come to the 11th province, even to say thank you for the work that you did. There is a diaspora policy. I don't know where it is. Somebody has filed it, But this government, Dr. Kalabo, needs to leverage the brain, the diaspora brain storage. There is so much knowledge, so much exposure in the diaspora.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
This government does not leverage that, then I don't know. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you. Very important points you've raised there. And just to add, is there an email at Cabinet Office where we can write to instead of sending letters via email? Is there an email? Via mail, sorry. That is from Yasin Mukadam. Is there an email, PS?
Yes, I think Jacqueline will share the email.
Okay, lovely.
She'll share the email. But let me respond to the first three, Barbara.
Yeah, sure.
I'm looking forward to receiving your CV. Then I couldn't see the name of the second speaker, but Chishimba.
Yeah, that was
Chishimba. That's my okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward. One is coming to Zambia.
Patrick Chilufya.
Okay, yeah, please. Yeah. I'll be ready to meet you. We can share, and also I can avail you other people in government where you need to. We can have a discussion on this, and I'll make the PSAs, health and labor where Mima sits.
Yeah,
and
the
finance,
the PSLs is my childhood friend, Dr. Mangwende.
Oh, George.
Okay. At Vale Kalapasem Decimal class. No,
we started grade 1 same day.
So no problem. When I know you, because I know Dr. Mangwende so well, so I know you're correct.
But PS, just remember that so don't invite him home. Be careful.
But you see, he's the Chilufya and I've got a Simba here, and so
Thank you so much.
Patrick, bwirabati kuchinsa alioko twafuma okusenda ekintu kunakirira bwangu bwangu.
I have a quotation here. They said this day would never come.
Yeah, I know. It just did.
So that's quote is from Barack Obama. So PS, we are in this together. This government is ours. If we go to Alanda to correction, but in the PF balanda kukuya vasuma no kuba kokota batuntulu. Na chafo comment about the rule of law. But they initiate a government constitutional review because there are a lot of bad laws on the books. The rule of law on the basis of bad laws, then we have bad governance. So we need good laws. And then I want to thank you, PS, for showing up. However, we were caught a little bit unawares, but clearly this is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and for interacting with us. So here is the big deal here. Here's the big deal here. When we are commenting on these issues, we are propagating better outcomes. I apologize for two things. One, I disappeared from the show because I got a call. I've been talking to 10 schools across the US, and I got a call from the vice president on this, my birthday. I got in my first job offer this term. I haven't accepted it, but I have received it. And I am
been waiting for this, Wakason, so the viewers don't know about this.
So Nachanda na vice president thank you, but nangu 7 nangu 10 kasala poba mubat na beba njeverio lekeni tonton kanyepo na totela. Yeah, so that's what happened. So I apologize to viewers for disappearing. Yeah, so anyway, in summary, what I could say to the permanent secretary is this one simple thing. We are in this together. And please, appoint as many people as possible from the diaspora. We are grieving that Mwasalapo feva will remove Tekobo Enuimwe. You know, that Remitia no Kumieverapo. Mwasalapo feva will Texas. El Mwasalapo Navachi Pakupaku. bushebonse bufweba bakuno fweba lero chinaparo patuimba pano tuchiro tukaba PF takuri kwa bamano mule isarafe mwekoko fitwa michita so bule niko na bambi na ngobe ko 5 babe ko na 6 na future mfoko ba represented chalo cheswichi ero chimbicho bakala bonalala ndapo chakweba ati if you feel more that government na ikwatama limitations, put that in front of us, yes. But mwida komaila pama limitations, icho mwasa lilo muli mtunguloshe. Mwida komaila pama solutions mkwete, so that ture munati pano pachipanda tuikere, pali hava ume, ture kwa tako hopu. Kwa tinga tuwa tumana mafoni kumishi. Kweba eba ati, abatu abika po, eva umempal meshala solve no problems ya chalo. Of course, with all of our support. Icho echo tulefwaya. Bad laws on the books, remove them. Mulibuteko. Pangeni Constitutional Review Commission. Itampio kubomba na mbarine. You know, bule ni abantu benu mu diaspora. Mubapereko na bwa machito. Bengi sana abakweba ati kuti babombo ku Zambia. Notukubula kofi abantu babiri the whole Zambia. Awe. Icho na bakateka mubere ati icho chile tupera akafisha mutima. Ama soja ba revolution ni fuego. Mule ufata tabakala.
Amkwayetu leo mfua.
Ubu teko bwesu. Na ba PF tapali uko balea ba PF tapali uko balea takuri na ma elections pali kano kashita uteko wala teka 5 years ne fintu fionse bala controla ne kongoli fionse bala controla. Tuarabika for 5 years nakambika 10 years minimum. So na fionse tuka controla fionse nomba mwe bantu besu mwasala ko fe tubiri shua mutumo na shani fwe baikala kufyaza mutumo kwa twalipata Zambia. We na kuno kwine tubomba kofie no kulia kwesha bako. So mule nipo babantu benu nabo mubafuitike mu muri amwe mu mutumako mwira ipera fyoko kwine mweka ero nango twayiricanya ko paba kolochi tatubake neno kubatuka bashifwe yawe twafati babike ma advisory positions mubabika ku forefront na fwe baikepo tufo kwa twabu tukolubiro batupere batangu tume 100 meters nifwe tuingire muri amustigen na fwe nturekisha ko kaunda lesa na bena mwanga imise pela ba youth aba butauja mwamuna bakalabo. So tuombere pamo chalo cheswichi. Elo, you know, the thing I love about the diaspora is this one thing. The diaspora namutasa ambirila. Because of the experience of living in these advanced countries, they represent the kind of future we are trying to build in Zambia. They have already been there.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. And because of that just simple experience, and you know, there are certain things in this life which are more caught than taught. Ngamwafusha mobali abantu. Bakesa kesa pibila kwa abantu be switchi be. Kubashinga ko feti be cy'abazungu. Na bena wiyantanshisha bakwata.
Bakasonso mwilala ndetse mwala unaule pintu nomba.
Thank you so much.
Mwichicha shilanye lekeni pushe ka point kandi uteko na buisapa tatushukira po uteko na buiso uteko mustigen tatuinga ba Jacqueline bala no uteko ifo tino uteko hapa.
Thank you, Professor Kasonso. I will mute you now. Thank you so much. Bom Kelevai, very quickly.
Yeah, elo ine mwambika pali very quickly.
Very quickly.
Anyway, thank you so much. We are very privileged to have you, and thank you so much for our sister to have managed to, I don't know how she convinced you, and I know you've been following, but that's a very wonderful thing. We are so happy and privileged. Tabeluvata, the thing that we want is you people in the government to open up to your people that voted you in. You are so closed. And to hear or to talk to you like this, to us, we feel like, wow, we are so privileged. You guys, you know very well that we were together in these battles where we were trying to bring out or to take out, to top out this regime that was brutal. We were together the diasporas, they came up together. They were sending some little bit of moral support, even financial, material support. They did all. But then today, you are in power. You are in control. You don't even have to be scared of anything. But we are there for you. But then you close up communication to us. That's a flop. You don't get busy for the people that brought you into power. Give us the audience. Listen to us. You may be underestimating us, but you never know what information we have for you to even save you from the mistakes that you may have made. I'm using the word, I'm generalizing it. I'm not saying you are making mistakes. You are doing well so far. But including what president. What president has lived in the diaspora before, he knows. And he knows that when we speak, we don't fear, we don't subtract, we don't try to sideline, whatever. We will just tell you the way it is. Because we know we are talking from the experience that Wokasonso has just mentioned, whether you are a learned person or you're not learned, but by virtue of you aligning yourself with developed, or you have been in a country that is well civilized, that has reached, I'm not saying Zambia is not civilized. At least we have the information. So it is in this line that I really want you people in the government, open up communications. What Minister of Justice, Minister of Information and Broadcasting needs to come to our aid. They're supposed to be in the forefront and destroying all this propaganda by the Mwambas of this world, because they are taking advantage. I don't even see why we should allow these people who have put us in this position that we are in right now. You guys, you are failing to get your allowances, the beautiful salaries, whatever you're supposed to, because of what these chaps have done. They've put up a bad precedent. And yet you are still giving them the audacity. I know it's a democratic country. However, don't give such beautiful time to Masholi. Those are Masholis who have destroyed this country, and they are failing to accept the fact that they did something wrong. And that's why today they can even announce, wait for someone to die, to come out and say whatever they want to say, and then go back in hibernation like your ex-president. We want you people to come out. We want to listen to you, even in your ministerial position or your PS speeches. Say it. Don't be scared that because you are now a civil servant, you cannot mention the wrong things that the other people have done. Say it. Need to miss that.
Thank
Great.
you. Did you want to comment on that?
Yes, I think it's more of a council, so that is taken. In fact, I can just echo the president's I think views or comment to the ministers when he had a press conference. Remember, there was a journalist who asked, the ministers are not accessible, and the president was very clear that they needed to be accessible.
Yeah.
Now that goes to even senior government officials who should be accessible. I'm making myself available. I know you have this every now and then, so if you allow me to be a guest at once in a while when there are issues which need to be clarified, I'll be available.
Thank you.
If there are substantive issues, once I get a heads up, I'll be able to get the right information so that I can share correctly. But general issues, any day I can come and respond to that. So I've heard Professor Kasonso. Congratulations for receiving that appointment. I hope you accept it, because it must be an important one. But I also hear you. I hear your advice, and we are there in the public service to serve the people of Zambia, and therefore we'll be there to listen to you. And that's why I always listen, because some of these things, when I go back to the office, I'm careful when I make that decision, when I approve something, because I've heard that this is not sitting well with the people, especially the non-accessibility of our leaders to respond to challenges of today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, that is an amazing privilege for us to hear you speak directly to us. And just to add on the inaccessibility, I must point out it's not everyone who's not accessible. We have been privileged to access the director, Mr. Kawana. He's always available, whatever time. He responds to messages, and a few other people as well in the media team at State House. So I think as we complain that a lot of people are not accessible, we must be prudent in saying that quite a few of government officials are accessible for us. So thank you very, very much. I will add that a quick comment, and then we can close.
Kelvin, I want to say something.
Yeah.
Linda. Okay, great. P.S. Thank you so much. You have no idea. My heart is smiling to have you, on this live show. Great job. Great job. Kudos to you. My contribution is this, and it stems from the fact that you talked about, government is constrained right now, in creating employment. The one thing I've always thought about is, why can't we embrace data-driven policies based on actual data, right? I won't go into details. This is something I can write to you about. But in short, what I'm trying to say is, can we modernize Zambia's borders and Zamstat? Zamstat is the former CSO, right? In modernizing Zamstat, I'm saying let's invest in technology, digitizing Zamstat to a point where data collection is efficient. We can employ economists in that department. We can employ health experts, demographers. All these people will be able to collect that data and analyze it, and our policies will be data driven. This office can work in close collaboration with the Bank of Zambia in setting monetary policy and this and that. You see that? The other thing in terms of creating employment today, the reason the government is having challenges is because there's no private sector, basically. You see that? Zambian owned. I advocate for Zambian-owned private sector. One of the ways you, as government, can do this is outsource to Zambian SMEs, right? Things like data and record management. Why should the Ministry of Lands keep 1 million physical files? When you go there, your file has gone missing. If we empowered SMEs to do this, and they sign a huge bond, if you lose data, if you recklessly share, private information, your contract is revoked and you pay this much. That is creating employment, because if I'm a technology expert here. I can create a company that can handle data and record management for the government. I will make sure that my employees know what we have to stand for. You see that? I will employ 100 more people. Another person will employ many more people. I think those are some of the solutions we need to work to. And one thing real quick, this is probably a matter of policy. I don't, have the full data on it, but why is it that Zambia's border towns are poor? Why can't we look at the numbers and say, whatever revenue is collected at Nakonde, for instance, 40% remains in Nakonde to develop Nakonde and outlying areas. We all know that money coming into Central Treasury does not make it back properly to these areas. So those are some of the things I hope you and I can have an awesome audience, so I can share some of these things that run through my mind. But thank you so much, PS. I won't take up much of your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much. Are you in Lusaka?
No, I'm in the US, sir.
Okay, I was hoping you're in Lusaka, because then would have met on Monday, because you have talked quite a number of things. Because
the power of technology, yes,
I'm coming in October, PS.
And also, Kelvin, the power of technology, you could just set up a Zoom link and have
absolutely, absolutely.
I would do so, because I can see Zam Strategic Executive, Smart Zambia, PS Small and Medium Enterprise Development in the same Zoom. Then you share what you have shared, and also immigration. By the way, we have a positive story about immigration. Immigration, when we went digital in terms of payment and so on, the amount of revenue we are getting compared to what was before is phenomenal. So
you say?
Absolutely.
You say amen.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been talking about that, and Bakalabo, he's mentioned about decentralization. You know,
imagine if you had that in the markets.
Yes, and what the president has done when he came in the budget, 25.7 million to constituents. And you know what the apprehension was? No, they'll misuse the money and so on. We don't have regulation. We don't have this. The president just told us, you have 2 months to come up with a regulation for this money to be used in the constituents. I've made a decision and it will go. Right now, they are struggling. There's so much paperwork and so on. We know there will be challenges, but you can imagine if this is the way, 5 years from now, we are pushing 500 million to each constituents. Will be that's the way to decentralize, because we have been holding on to resources in Lusaka. 80% of the resources of Zambia are held in Lusaka. No, we don't want that. We want to go where 80% of the resources are out in the provinces. Only about less than 20% will be central controlled. That way, the people of Zambia will have services, not the way we have been doing in the past. So we are. But before I sign off, let me give back to the owner of this, because otherwise tomorrow I may not have breakfast.
Yeah. Before you sign off,
Dr. Barbara,
Just before you go, but Jacqueline, the PS talked about a very important point. Everything he talked about was really important, but something is very close to my heart. He said that if we do not promptly find employment for the youth, this could all go, to use a very colloquial phrase,
very
it could go
important.
tits up. So now that point, I wanted to ask the PS, how does your government intend to create employment promptly for these youth?
And are they communicating to the youth, because they are so impatient?
Okay, I think we're planning for 2 minutes, or 3 minutes. Then he can come online again.
Yes,
and
please,
answer that.
Don't milk the opportunity.
No. That's just
but Jacqueline, can I just give
but
an
Dr.
idea?
But Dr. Barbara, now I want Dr. Barbara's CV. So
encyclopedia.
I'm a CV. So, but Jacqueline, is the PS able to just respond to that question, and then we can release it?
Linda, just ask that question again. Is here.
Okay. So, PS, you talked about something quite cardinal and close to my heart about employment for the youths, and you said that if we do not do this promptly, all this could go tits up. They could become disgruntled, and the whole thing just can't work. There could be riots. There's a lot of I don't know how much intelligence you get. There's some serious discontentment among us, the youth, and people are literally just keeping the lead on, literally. So what are your plans? What are you planning in the short term, mid-term, and long term? What is in your plans for them? What sort of things are in the pipeline?
Okay. So the first avenue to mitigate that was the Constituent Development Fund, because remember, it's got proportion of resources to the youth under that. So in each constituency, youth will have access to that to do whatever they need to do. That's one. Second, the small and medium enterprises development working out program. Remember, it's a new ministry, and that's where diaspora would come in, because they are now setting up their systems and whatever they need to do, and they require a lot of input. I know a lot of people have come talking to them to guide them on what they need to do, because we think through that we may also have a lot of jobs. But the public-private dialogue, which the president recently launched, is a platform where industry will be sitting as co-equals in committees to look at each and every issue. So I can imagine one of the key committees which will come up, I think in a few weeks or so, will be the issue to do with the job creation. Okay, so that committee from the relevant government ministry and industry like manufacturing and so on, they'll sit and say, what do we need to do? And the president is very categorical that when they start those, they have to start from the beginning until they finish. So they only disband when they say, okay, they have achieved what they need to do. And we think the industry, the private sector, will bring valuable information and experience on what needs to be done. Of course, government will do their part, but the industry usually have the solution. They are more enterprising to do that. So that's what is happening. But also, we need, on the education side and training and so on, we need colleges, tertiary institutions, which will move away from these academic things. We have been so much of academic. We need skills development. Yeah. So TVBAKWETU comes in handy to channel out people, bricklayers, plaster, carpenters, artisans, skills, tiling, and so on. So
how soon is that likely to happen, please?
It is happening.
It is happening.
Sorry.
It is happening. It has started because each ministry is on the run, and each minister wants to show that this is happening according to the presidential directive. So the issue is that when are we going to see this result? I think that's up to you and me to talk about that when the results are going to come out. But in a year to 2 years, we should see some progression in this area. Remember also the Congo DR Zambia agreement?
Yes.
Which is bringing in the issue of electric cars, batteries, and so on. Exactly. That will open up a lot of jobs and support services for that industry. That may be slightly medium to long term, but it's also coming on board. So we are really pushing. Just now, today, the president was talking about the Namibia, Zambia oil pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if all this come to fruition within the 2 to 3 years, by the time we are getting to 25 to 26, we should have increased the employment percentage of the youth. Because if we don't, we are very alive to that. If we don't, then we are not responding to the majority of the people who went to the polls and voted for change of government. So we are very particular and careful about that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, a couple of points, youths. If you're not presenting yourselves, like Jacqueline had said, if you've got you've got interest in any particular field, write that application letter, work on your CV. Not advertising yourself is a bit like winking at a girl in the dark. Of course, she won't see that you actually fancy her. So for goodness sake, write that CV and send it.
You get that one.
Yeah, I like that one, winking at the girl in the dark.
Yeah, you know, when you're winking at a girl in the dark, only you know that you like her and you're winking at her, but she won't know. So write your CV, market yourself. It's a bit also like having...
I just wink.
That's me trying to be serious.
No, I will not wink. Please finish your sentence.
Linda, there was somebody listening in from Isoka, I think, and they said they were going to listen to the show all the way.
Oh.
So just give a shout out to them that I'll buy them a drink. It's on me.
That's lovely. So if you're listening in from Isoka, Dr. Babs is on the case. She's a drink.
It's a tenner. That's all I can afford.
Linda, excellent.
Okay, yes. I was trying to be serious. Closing on a good remark. We have it's been
Linda, can I ask to now
my good night? Professor Kasonso ko Dr. Bab, my brother Chilufia, I should make sure I make the real Katishinga Western Province delicacy ni Bakanje Babuino. Elo ati Balinda making sure Imboa, but Dr. Barbara
9 days incognito kutuma tuchesha na ambush na hotel.
Inenga isa kwikala pepa mutanda no kulya original.
Inenga nchakalana kwa teo
but Dr. Barbara wena na bedroom munganda.
Okay, how about this?
Oh my God.
Looks
we
like
have to invite.
Do you even know what mistakes you are making? It's confirmed.
Oh, Mr. Kamana, you'll be very fine.
It appears we all still have
we'll just go on an excursion.
Oh yes.
Everywhere.
I'm coming in July, but Jacqueline.
I'll be your host.
Oh, thank you.
Bakasonso bedroom yaba Barbara.
Professor Kasonso.
Dr. Kalavo nokuingira muingiramu Kalavo muingiramu.
Balinda Dr. Professor Kasonso. Abakwafatinga from the airport. Whether Bali jet lagged or not, kuba twala meeting your government, and we are going to organize that. Have State House straight. That Professor Dr. Kasonso, these are the men we need to take direct to the president.
But Jacqueline,
he will perform from a cabinet level. Technocrats.
I'm just gonna make sure that all these chaps who are busy yapping against our government, lock them, not even bonding them. No, let's be categorical, rule of law. Hey, rule of law. Amalakunas, rule of law. We capitalize on them.
But Jacqueline, before Vakasonso comes in, Vakasonso. Anyway,
no, just
midnight with Linda. This is another show, midnight with Linda.
Just warn us, because to be forewarned. But Dr. Barbara, please liaise na Linda na Bamunsha to get all my details. Mutumeko CV.
Oh, quite a lot to man.
You are not being fair and lovely. So if I'm what about us?
Linda. I will add, Vaniki wants to add the last sentiment.
Yeah, I think we know that forever the Zambia, akashitana akaya, kutimwa tuisalira ko we can chat mu background.
Exactly. Now, I was just about to close, and this is a very serious, very important point to the youth, because I have got quite a lot of youths that follow us on TVBAKWETU, on my page, and everyone else's, Professor Kasonso's, who have been sending all sorts of questions and making comments. Talk about this today, talk about that. You've heard, we have represented you well. We had this incredible man, the PS, out of his own time, and this is so wonderful. It is indicative of this government that we have. They're listening government. The president listens. Yes, we're still not completely satisfied with the responses. You know, government officials, ministers, they could avail themselves a bit more to the media so that they can explain different processes on how to apply for certain things, CDF or jobs or that sort of stuff, or even just telling the people what they're up to. The Minister of Information, this is not to criticize her. She's one of us. We just want to be there to provide whatever supports that we can provide, if there's any supports that we can have. But as a youth, if you are youth out there, like I said earlier, do not be winking at a girl in the dark. For goodness sake, put your CV together, make application letters, send them to the right people. And also, diaspora 887 had said diaspora is his 11th province. It is a hub full of, we're not saying a different, we are, you know, to Alishwa fiance and whatnot, but by virtue of being exposed, we see certain things. Like in Ganaisa ku Zambia, na ku bank, it really annoys me to wait. It's because we've been used to these sort of things. Why I feel now your card is on the phone, my details 5 seconds, sort out, you're out. But you're queuing for hours. So exposure, you know, you learn a few things. It doesn't make you better than the next person, but it just exposes you to certain things that perhaps you might be able to help in certain industries. On that note, this has been TVBAKWETU, a very special TVBAKWETU episode where we were just discussing the happenings in Zambia, current affairs, and everything else, all the decisions that the president has been making, from employing new diplomats and different policies that he has put in place. And thank you so much. If you have joined us, I can see a lot of people joined us and you have stayed. But we are so privileged and honored. I know there's a case of talk time and everything like that, but you still stayed with us, and for that we're eternally grateful. And from me, Linda Banks, who has been your host, I have had Professor Kasonso, Mr. Patrick Chilufya, our resident doctor, Dr. Babs, Shimba, who brought her husband, who is a permanent secretary, a deputy permanent secretary at cabinet. And we had a new guest by Kelvin, and who else have I missed out? Many other people.
My friend, honor me for Kelvin. Kelvin is my friend.
The birthday boy, Professor Jones Kasonso.
How could you?
And Bom Mkelevai, Dr. Babs, thank you so much from me and from the entire TVBAKWETU family. God bless you and God bless our country.